All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. If you're still trying to find a seat, pick an empty one and sit down. No, I don't. In fact, if you have an open seat near you or you have something kind of like a seat between you and someone else, tighten it up just so if anybody does come in late, they can grab a spot. That'd be super helpful. Get to know someone. Well, guys, my name is Rob. I'm part of the Good Leader team, and I'm just so excited to have you guys here, to be here. When we started planning, we set for about 400 people, and we sold out, so we're super excited about that. Yeah, you can clap. Y'all made it. You attended. You're here. So with that, it's just going to allow us to maybe do some fun things in the future. This is our 4th year of doing the Good Leader Conference, and the reason for it is, and as you know, being in a place of leadership or striving for a place of leadership, it can be isolating. It can be lonely. It can be confining. It can be something to where when you're on that journey, it's like I have my people and I don't trust anyone else. You know, like I have what I know and I don't know what I don't know. There's so many facets to our leadership development and growth, and that's really what we wanted to accomplish with the Good Leader Conference, was an opportunity for people to get together, to learn, of course, to grow, of course, but to network, to be able to be alongside people that are in the same journey, in the same stage of journey, maybe even to the next level of where you are and where you want to be able to just learn from one another. Because a phrase that I learned and have applied for many, many years is, if we all win, then we all win. And being in this community and wanting to be better together and to have a strong, vibrant business community, it's important that we leverage each other's strengths. We lean on each other's talents and knowledge to be able to be the best that we can be, and then to pay it forward and help that new business, that new entrepreneur, that new business that's coming into our community to also thrive as well. And so today, here's what I'm going to ask. Here's what we really want. Yes, learn. We've got an amazing lineup today. In fact, we're going to kick it off with our keynote speaker. He's going to speak and teach, and I'll get into that in just a second. And then we'll break for lunch. And then after lunch, we'll come back and we have 3 more speakers that it's going to be a little more TED Talk. So after you have eaten and you're a little more, calmed and, maybe a little tired or whatever, we'll keep it moving. And that'll be a chance also for some Q&A, and it'll be a lot more engaging to finish out the day. And then we have another hour of networking at the end. So once you get all of this information, you get all the things, we're going to give you another hour at the very end if you can stick around to get to know more people, to maybe meet somebody you didn't know, learn something you didn't know. And then, of course, we have our booths out there. Thank you to all of our amazing sponsors. Thank you guys for being here. Please go check them out. Grab a card from them. Make sure that you have that you visited all of them. They might have some goodies for you out there. So yeah, great experience. So, but that's what we want from you today. And then where my introverts are. Who are my extreme introverts? I don't know, you shot your hand up way too quick. That's not introvert activity. The introvert was, that would be me. No. Listen, I understand something like this can be a little overwhelming. It can be like too many people. Meet one new person. If that's you, if you struggle with that, like some of you, like we had to tether to a chair so you would stop getting up, and that's great. But if you're more of an introvert, go meet somebody. Go meet one person. Again, a lot of this is the value you're gonna find is when we get to know someone else. So to get started, I wanted to do a quick little giveaway. I got some giveaways. They'll get progressively better as we get through the day. But to kick it off, I've got some Good Leader hats, because why not have some merch? I love it. And they're fantastic. Okay, so Macy Schaefer. I need an introvert Macy Schaefer to jump up and run. Oh, there you are. Okay, awesome. Come on up. Chad Heron. Yeah, buddy. Chad, come on up, but I'm going to need you to put on an oversized sweater, though. Tina Breckenfeld. Nice, awesome. All right, give it up for him.
Thank you, bud.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. Nice. All right, and we'll have some more giveaways as we go through. Embarrassing. To me, not him. Okay, so I want to kick off. I don't want to waste any more time. I want us to get right into the meat and potatoes. Our first speaker, our keynote speaker today, is a leadership architect. First of all, I thought that was the coolest. I think he wrote it about himself. I don't know. But it's the coolest title ever, leadership architect. He's a consultant, an author. He's written many books, and of course, he's a public speaker, often referred to as a dream releaser. I'm really excited for us to have the opportunity to hear from him, to learn from him. Please take copious notes. Do not rely on your memory to advance your future. Write it down. Write this stuff down. Write these notes down. Take pictures, whatever you need to do. But will you please help me welcome to the stage Dr. Sam Chand.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a long walk. I was looking at Chad. Chad, where are you? There you are. Can you stand one more time? I'm just jealous. Do you see his pecs, his biceps, and he chose a shirt that was 2 sizes too small to begin with. I'm going to start doing that. But I got kids and family that are going to mock me. So when I came to America in 1973, I always wanted to have a body like Chad's. So I went to this health food store, and Joe Weider was a name in those days, and I bought his protein building things. Hold that thought for a minute. This is 1973, and where I come from in India, this is going to be too much information to start with, we didn't use toilet tissue. We washed. And now you have them, you can push a button and keep sitting, it'll wash your stuff. So when I came to America, I was 20, and I had never used toilet tissue. So that was a learning curve at 20. There are no videos to prepare you for that. I remember I was in the men's dorm, and so there's this guy by the name of Gary, and he was taking care of his paperwork, and I happened to look at him because I'm trying to learn, right? I mean, you don't ask people, so how do I do this? Can you do a demo for me? So, this is all true, happened to me. And so I see him taking care of his stuff, and he sees me seeing him, and he says, "What are you looking at?" So I said, "You wiping." Okay. So I did not know the things that go along with that. So what I said to myself is, no problem. I'm going to just take a shower after I take care of my business. Back to the Joe Weider protein shake. You see the train going somewhere, right? So I started taking that stuff. There were some barbells and dumbbells, in there. So I was doing that as well, but I started drinking that protein stuff. And that protein stuff wanted to go through. But remember, this is my pre-wiping days. This is my take shower days. So I took a lot of showers. Where did that story come from? I don't know. I haven't even thought about that till I saw Chad. Yeah. If I look familiar to you, you say, I've seen him somewhere. You might have seen me at my gas station, my 7-Elevens, my Dunkin' Donuts, my Dairy Queens, my subways. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Yeah, and if you sound familiar, it is when your computer goes down and you call for tech support. I'm here. I'm here. And just as an aside, talking louder is not the issue. Problem is, you don't understand me, but I don't understand you. And then I say, go to settings. And that's where it all goes downhill. So on behalf of all of my homies, I just here to take a bow and let you know that I've helped a lot of you in this room that you don't even know about. My life is it's probably the most improbable journey in life. I already told you at 20 years of age, I came to United States, 1973. And life was different. When I landed in JFK Airport in New York, I had literally 87 cents in my pocket, literally. And the way I remember that is if you've been to JFK, it's a kind of a round area, and the international side is here, and the domestic side is here. So I flew in on Air France, but I had to catch Eastern Airlines. Anybody in here remembers Eastern Airlines? Okay, you are too young for that. So at least you're pretending to be. You know, all the hair polish is not going to cover up everything. So I was dragging my suitcase from international to domestic, and they had a shuttle bus that comes around, and in those days it was $1 to get on it. So I got on the bus, and the driver said, that'll be $1, sir, and I came up with 87 cents. And as they can only do in New York, he told me to get off his bus. And so that's how I remember that. So life was very, very different. I had no idea what the good Lord had in mind for me. People say, so how did you get to do what you get to do? And I said to him, I'm the biggest accident you've ever seen. There has been nothing strategic about my life. It's just been a daily thing. Just put one foot in front of the other and keep doing whatever the Lord is asking you to do. So now at this stage in my life, almost 73, I've got clients on every continent except Antarctica. I'm working on my 41st book. And I'm telling you that story not about me, but I'm telling you that story to let you know that life is not how it is today. Life is not easy. Life is difficult. Doesn't matter who says what on a platform, and we tell all our success stories, that's not where it's at. Life is a grind. Life is tough. And it doesn't get easier. It does not get easier. You know, there's a fallacy in our world, and I call it the when and then. When my kids are grown up, or it starts with when we have children, then. When they leave the house, then. When we have enough money, then. Once I've finished my education, then. Once we have saturated this market, then. And I'm here, I've lived long enough and done what I do long enough to tell you that there is no when and then. If you wait for when, the only thing that's going to change is you're going to be older. You don't want to die a woulda, coulda, shoulda life. You won't chase it down. And no one's going to hand it to you. You have to work at it. So what I want to do today is just have conversations with you, if that's okay. I don't have like a bunch of teaching. I'm not selling anything. I have no books to promote. That's all on Amazon nowadays. Many of you have already told me that you've Googled me, and that's what happens nowadays. You get everything. So everything you see on page 1 of Google, I wrote, so it's all good. That don't go to page 3 or 4. You know, that's the other people. That's the other people. You can't believe anybody who's not on page 1. I mean, how many of you go beyond page 1, right? As long as you're on page 1 and it's all good, it's all good. So I wrote my own propaganda. You just need to know that. So I'm not here to promote anything. I'm not here to sell anything. There will not be anything that if you do this, this will happen, that will happen. So what I want to do today is to give things I have learned. My best learning comes from other leaders. So they call me in as a consultant, they pay me as a consultant, but really what they don't realize is they're paying me to learn more. And without giving names, I'm gonna share with you some things I've learned. And to narrow it down, kind of said to myself, okay, what did you, when I was preparing for this, it was like, what have you learned in the last 3 years? So I went through my system that I keep to work with my clients and say, I learned this here, and I learned this here, and I learned this here, and that's what I want to do. So if you're looking for point number 1 to have any correlation to point number 2, there's no such thing. I just want you to know that, because some of your OCD people saying, what if 3 had nothing to do with 2? I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with 2. So if you're looking for a segue, if you're looking for a transition, and you say, now what did that have to do with that? Nothing. I'm telling you that right now, nothing. And when you get old like me, that's expected of you. So you can get to make up a lot of stuff and excuse it for that. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you for the introduction. Pastor John McKenzie, where are you? Where are you, Pastor? Where are you, Pastor? Oh, yeah, you didn't pay $49? We got to solve that problem right there. You know, he's a budding star. He's got a lot of potential. So we can invest $49 in him. Thank you for the vision that you have for where we are at and what we are doing. There's an American author and philosopher by the name of Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway writes his philosophical fiction books with messages in it. One of the books that he wrote was called The Sun Also Rises. In the book, there are 2 characters, Bill and Mike. Bill and Mike are friends, and they're going through a conversation. Bill says to Mike, hey, I'm going bankrupt. Mike is flabbergasted, you're going bankrupt? Mike asks Bill, how are you going bankrupt? And I want to listen to the answer because I want to talk about that for a minute. Bill says, gradually and then suddenly. I will say that again for you. Gradually and then suddenly. Say it one more time. Gradually and then suddenly. So what businesses do, what corporations do, what leaders do is they react from the suddenlies. Go from this happened, then this happened. So we go from event to event, from suddenly to suddenly. But my guess is that all of you have done what you do long enough and lived long enough to know that once you start walking that dog back, you know it did not start with that event. There's lots of things that were ramping up to that time, but nobody is keeping their eye on the gradualies. So who has the intellectual property in your organization who's keeping an eye on the gradualies? Businesses don't go like that. People don't go rogue on you. Okay, anybody in this room has people who are on your team at one time and they just went bad, they went rogue. Can I see your hands? Can I see your hands? I'll wait for some more hands. I mean, this is life. This is life. This is life. And as you start looking at them, you know they didn't go rogue overnight. Businesses that start declining didn't happen overnight. So my challenge to you really this morning is, so who is keeping eyes on the gradualies? Because the gradually is like erosion. Anybody had those rivets in your backyard from the rainwater? It's not overnight. It is a speck of sand at a time. Most organizations that I've worked with, when I've been called in, I would say 80% of the organizations that call me is when they're having a challenge. 20% are people who say, we're doing great, how can we do better? And as I go into an organization and start working with them, I start finding out it was never one bullet that did it. It was not one event that did it. It was not that one decision that did it. What happened was a series of happenings that we excused, we overlooked, that we didn't take full cognizance of, that we allowed it to happen, we tolerated it. Because, your organization grows only to the limit of what you're willing to tolerate, because that's what sets culture in an organization. So my first challenge to you is, how are you and your team keeping your eyes on the gradualies? Remember what Bill said to Mike? I'm going bankrupt. How are you going bankrupt? I'm going, because it goes from gradually and then suddenly. Even as I'm saying things to you right now, in your own experiences, you can see how you reflectively look back and learn lessons from that. People will say things like, nobody told me. All of you have heard that. Or, I didn't know about that. Or, I didn't see that coming. Or, wow, that's surprising. Suddenly, but before that, there are a lot of gradualies. So to do that, you have to create systems of keeping your eyes on the gradualies. Now, only you know what the gradualies are. I cannot, because there's such a diverse group in this room. You have to figure out what are the gradualies. Because here's the thing. The higher you go in an organization, the lesser gradualies are brought to your attention. The reports that you get are the big picture reports. In fact, most CEOs and most C-suite people, most of the high-level people in the organization get annoyed and aggravated with too much detail. It's like, just tell me the bottom line. So everybody who's feeding them information is just giving them what we call the executive summary, whatever that would mean. But that is not the gradualies. But if you are irritated with that, if you're annoyed with that, if you're aggravated with that, and all you want to deal with is the big picture, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But somebody has to keep their eye on the gradually. And when those people bring you their concerns about the gradualies, you have a choice to make whether you're going to explore it further or you're going to give them signals that you're not interested. Gradually, and then suddenly. That was point number one. Point number two. I have learned that things don't go wrong, they start wrong. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. Things don't go wrong, they do what? Start wrong. In my previous life, I was a university president. And as we were going through whatever we went through as the educational institution, and we came up against different challenges, and I start looking back on it, I had to admit that things don't go wrong, they start wrong. How you onboard, how you partner, how you invest, how you do due diligence, how you, instead of speeding up, how you slow down, who your advisors are, who your consultants are, who are your lieutenants in the whole mix of things, how you start. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And so when a business opportunity comes to you, a new client comes to you, a place that you never thought, but you have this opportunity, that is the time that you've got to make sure that the foundation is right, that you have done due diligence on the people. Places that I've messed up in are I did not do a deep dive into the people I'd be partnering with. I had a good deal. I had a great opportunity. The return was pretty solid, but the people were not that. So how do I learn more about them? How do I learn more about their pedigree? How do I learn more about their ethos? How do I learn more about their value system? How do I learn more about what they actually represent? How do I learn them? So we become transactional rather than knowing that every problem you're having is a person and every solution you have is a person. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with today. You start breaking it down one at a time and it'll all come down to a person. It doesn't matter how you want to look at that. So because every problem is a person and every solution is a person, I have to do due diligence on the person. Because it doesn't matter how good that opportunity is, doesn't matter how good the investment is, doesn't matter how good the surety on it is, all those things will come back to haunt you because things don't go wrong, they start wrong. So to start things right is a counterintuitive to what we do. We want to speed things up. And I'm suggesting to you, maybe the counterintuitive thing is to slow it down. Because if you start a conversation too early and you consummate it too early, you just haven't given it time to percolate. You haven't given it time to breathe. You haven't given it time to grow, to be nurtured, to be cultivated. You just haven't done all that needs to happen at the front end of things. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. Point number 3, which has nothing to do with 1 and 2. I just want you to know that I'm telling you that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for another 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll let you go back to your tables for about 3-4 minutes, and very quickly just want you to talk at your table as to what's your takeaway till then. Some of you are going to say, I'm done, I'm gone, this is boring, this is dull, I'm leaving. I'll pretend like I'm going to the restroom, but I won't be back. That might be your takeaway, and things don't go wrong, they start wrong, and I get that, and then gradually, and then suddenly, I understand all of those things. So you'll put into practice what I'm talking to you. So let me do another 15, 20 minutes, and then you come back together in your tables, and that might be a good way, Rob, for people to get to know each other, and so those kind of things. But I'll just give you 3-4 minutes, so it won't be very, very long. And that way I get a break too. In the early 50s, there was a guy by the name of Bob Anderson. Bob Anderson was a department manager for Kmart in Denver. They had just opened a Denver store. It was doing well, could do better, and Bob Anderson was in charge of the men's merchandise in Kmart. How many of you are willing to say you know when I say Kmart that you know what Kmart? Okay, good. Because some of you are saying Kmart, I don't know. I just know Walmart. So he was in charge of the men's department. But his sales were lagging. So he said, wonder what will happen if I did maybe a flash sale for 15, 20 minutes and see what we can move and discount stuff. So he rigged some stuff up. He got a shopping cart, went to the home goods area and got a broom, and then went to the automotive department, got a red light, swirling light, and then also got a battery pack that he put in the cart. So he had this thing rigged, and then he got on the microphone and started with a red light special. Well, the fire department found out about it and said, no, you can't do that. So he said, okay. So he went and got himself a blue light. Thank you. I'm so glad you all are here. The ladies are the best in the room. So he got himself a blue light, and hence that became the blue light special. How many of you ever shopped at a blue light special? Okay. And the ladies department found out about it and said, can we borrow your blue light? So they started, this is in Denver, they started moving that buggy, and they just do the blue light special. And that thing started doing well for the store. Well, headquarters found out about it. They liked that sales were going up. They didn't have to capitalize it. They didn't have to have an executive leadership team meeting. They didn't have to have a feasibility study. You all know about that, right? So, yeah, you want to kill something, send it to feasibility. Absolutely. That's a slow walk to death. That's what I used to do. When I was president of the college, I didn't like something. I made a feasibility committee. First of all, a committee. A camel was a horse before it went to committee. Yeah, you get the lowest common denominator results out of committees. So I've killed a lot of stuff just by not saying no. You have to figure out to say, let them die on themselves. So headquarters found out about this, and in all of their wisdom that headquarters have, they said, it would be wonderful if we had a blue light special in all of our, at that time they had 3,427 stores. That we can have a blue light special in all of our stores. Yeah, that worked pretty good. And then headquarters had another brilliant idea. Why don't we have a schedule for a blue light special? So all the stores on the same day, at the same time, are going to have a blue light special. They didn't understand the concept of flash sales. So now it became predictable. And every store at the same time, on the same day, was having blue light special. And headquarters got wiser, smarter, brilliant. And they said, not only are we going to have a blue light special on the same day at the same time, but we're going to sell the same products at the same time. It's hard to sell a bikini in Minneapolis in January. Miami, yeah. It's hard to sell a shovel in Texas. In Chicago, yeah. And the lesson there is, as you grow and as you proliferate, you have different locations, different team members, different time zones. And all of us want similarity. But I'm here to ask you to challenge yourself to value differences. I was working with a corporation in Australia. And at that time, this was a number of years ago, at that time they had 57 locations around Australia. And I was invited to work with the executive team, with the CEO, the leader of this organization. And they were really frustrated that people on the western coast in Perth were not doing the same thing as people in Sydney. And people in Sydney were not doing the same thing as Melbourne or Brisbane or Adelaide. So the big conversation was, these people just are not part of our culture. They don't fit. They're not following directions. We send them memos, and they are not doing what we are asking them to do. So I was part of that meeting, and that is where, so in case you want to know what a consultant does, consultant hears what you're saying and then makes up some stuff. That's what I do. If you're talking to me, just know this. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I make up stuff that you say, yeah, makes sense. And that's how I make my living. So in my brilliance in that moment, I said, there was 8, 10 people around the table in the brilliance. I said to them, I said, you know something? What would be a really good exercise for us to do would be to decide what are the 20% that you do here has to happen in all 57 locations. You have to have that. And what are the items that they can have autonomy over? So, they did that. It was very difficult for them because the list was really, really long. And the list was long in the area of everything had to be the same. And then they talked through it and talked through it and talked through it, and they whittled it down to what had to be and where diversity and differences could come up. So if you are a growing business and you have different locations, or you have partners, not even locations. Maybe I'm not using the right terminology for your business. You have different partners, you have different outlets, you have different expressions of what you do. Most people don't value differences. Differences in dress, differences in approach, differences in locations. Most people are looking for similarity. But as you proliferate and grow and diversify, how you value differences will be part of your culture. Does that make sense to you all? The difference maker is the difference. But you have to work hard at making sure that whatever you say is going to be different gets communicated. That you are welcome to innovate in this area. You're welcome to do what works best for you in this area. But here are the things that have to be uniform. And once you make the delineation, once you make that difference, once you allow people to know, here's your areas that you can play in. Here are the areas where you're mandated. That's where innovation comes in. Innovation is not a thing. Innovation is an experience you allow people to have. And as that experience is in the environment, the more people have leeway to play with, because not any of us is not as smart as all of us. So how do we value differences? I think this will be a good time for you to just get in your tables, and I'll give you maybe 4 minutes and just talk about just one thing. What's your takeaway thus far? What's your takeaway thus far? One more minute, one more minute, one more minute. All right, all right. Uh, I'm going to come to maybe 3 tables randomly, and one of you can just speak up whatever has been your takeaway. I love the sound in the room. This is really, really good. All right, how about we start at table number 1?
Y'all are being asked, what was y'all's discussion?
Yeah, just one of you just tell us what's your takeaway.
You want one takeaway from y'all's discussion? He's pointing at you, sir.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we focused on was the gradual, versus the sudden. This is a particularly focused type of concept at this table because of the business that we do. But I think that if you look at the persons, representing the guy with the tight shirt,
Chad.
he doesn't just wake up one day looking that way, right? These are decisions that were made, and promises that are kept through a process. He's paying attention to the gradual. The gradual is every time you sit down to eat and you have a bowl of candy sitting in front of you, it's a decision. And that decision requires some level of discipline. And there's a lot of variety to that because not everybody's goals are the same. But the point is, the decision, you have to outline what the objective is and pay attention to the steps to get there.
Very good.
Disabling the sudden, if you will.
Very nicely done. Looks like you could get Chad some competition too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
Thank you.
personal.
Thank you very much. How about this beautiful table with all the ladies? Yeah. So, and I tell you what, so that you all can fight among yourselves as to who's going to be the next
candy on
table.
the
How about I'll come to the table next to it? I'm coming next to you, okay? So you all figure it out.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So we talked about a lot, and so since you hit on that, I'll hit on the fact that we talked about things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And I think that what that gentleman talked about feeds into this because it's your decisions. The gradual is the discipline. So if you're doing that from the start, then you're going to get a better result. We talked about onboarding was a big one. It's the systems that will save you. It's the systems that will save you from the start. So if you find that something's going wrong, you have to go back to the beginning.
Very nicely done. Very good. How about we just come to this table right here? Yeah.
We had a lot of good things to say, but what hit me first, honestly, was the Kmart. So the blue light special. I mean, I'm a chef, so always wanting that, but I think Kmart's not around anymore. And I always think like maybe they shouldn't have done the blue light special because they oversold products and now they lost their market share. But I think diversity is good, but I was just thinking about that. Say something good and positive.
Okay. So what I was thinking about the diversity aspect of it, I think diversity is a great thing because you don't know what someone else can bring to the table and the new perspective that you can take. But I also agree that you do need that foundation, and to only focus on the differences can deconstruct a business from the inside out. And I think that just focusing on what everyone can bring to the table and bring different perspectives to is the most important thing to explode growth.
Thank you very much. Give it up for all three of the tables there. So I do a lot of reflective thinking and it's like if I was to be leading a company again, what would I do different? If my wife and I talk about that, she said, well, that's a no-brainer. We're not going to start another company. So yeah, that's a diversity issue right there, but she always wins. That's why I'm here. It's very, very, very simple. When Brenda and I got married in 1979, I made her a promise. I said, if you ever leave me, I'm coming with you. So that threat is still there. So I want to give you 7 or 8 things that I think I would, if I was starting a company, in a business, that I would want my people to value. Different from these are our values, but I want them to value. And so I was trying to create a lesson with some words that would be sticky. So I came up with SQUIRREL. Can everyone say? Very good, very good. Some of you sounded like squirrels. So, and what I'm going to do is just to make it sticky, so you'll remember that. SQUIRREL. I would want my team to value scarcity. 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 I've been doing what I do for close to 40 years. And everybody is looking for more, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But your best thinking, your best relationship, your best innovation, your best discoveries are not going to be when you are rolling in finances, when you're rolling in team. Your best thinking will come with scarcity. So what does scarcity do? Scarcity allows us to think in ways that we have not thought about. Scarcity allows us to function. Okay, I think that I can fix anything in my house with duct tape, a coat hanger, and maybe a screwdriver. Anybody else with me on that one? Yeah, pliers, of course, pliers. I remember cars in which my back in the 70s when my gas tank wanted to divorce the rest of the body. I remember going in there and tying up my gas tank with a bunch of coat hangers put together. Hey, it got me from point A to point B. Nobody died. So what does scarcity do? Scarcity allows you to build a team. Scarcity allows us to think in innovative ways. Scarcity allows us to take our brains where they usually do not go. So if someone's answer is, hey, we need to hire more people, that's not innovation. Hey, we need to just buy the software. That's not innovation. Innovation is we don't have it. Now follow me on this one. We don't have it, yet we need to do it. So how do we do that? So here I'm going to just give you pragmatic stuff, okay? Stuff that you can actually use. Most people live in an either-or world. We could do this or we could do this. What I have learned is I say to people, so what would be on the one of the solutions? They'll give me a solution. What would be a second solution? They'll give me a second solution. If you really want their brains to work, you say, what's the third solution? By the time you ask the same person for the fifth solution, they're going to have a brain sprain. Because we have to, as leaders, take people into a place where they actually think. We have an opportunity, we don't have the resources, we don't have the people, we don't have the money, we don't have whatever it is. How do we still make this happen without this? If you are a founder of a business, if you started a business, can I see your hands? Can I see your hands? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You made it happen in the middle of scarcity. So scarcity is not buying something. Scarcity is about thinking a certain way. So when I work with corporations, I have learned that our world is full of doers, very few thinkers. And so I see CEOs and executive directors and owners and people like that saying, I'm doing all the thinking. I can tell you why you're doing all the thinking, because you don't allow them to think. So how do you bring them along to be thought leaders? Because everything starts with a thought. So you think. The second one is you articulate it to yourself, self-talk. Then you make a decision based on that. And then you take an action based on that decision. You do that action long enough, it becomes corporate behavior. And corporate behavior will affect your integrity, your character, what you're known for, and finally you'll walk into your destiny. So those are the 7 steps that we go through. But if we don't have people thinking, but they are acting, that's step number 4. So you have to always have to explain to them why we're doing this. So it's an explanation from you, but they have no skin in the game. If you were to go to them and say, hey, listen, we don't have it, so I think there are 6 of you on this team, and we'll have to let 2 of you go. I won't tell you. That's scarcity? We'll say, give us 3 months. Think we can make this happen. How about this? How about that? So how do we get people in our organizations to value scarcity? Scarcity of time, scarcity of facilities, scarcity of attention, scarcity of focus, scarcity of money, scarcity of people, scarcity. I would teach my people value scarcity. Now, I don't care who you are, you will have those dry spells. You will have those desert moments. You will have those things in your life that will happen. So how do you, ahead of time, teach people, we have grown, everyone's gonna agree with this thought in this room. Your growth spurts have come in your moments of scarcity. If you look back at your growth spurts, just before that, you made some decisions in moments of scarcity. And those are the ball work of decision making, not when you have it, when you don't have it. I would want my people to know we will have scarcity. And when we have scarcity, this is how we think about scarcity. We don't think of scarcity as something, something to fix. We think of scarcity as an opportunity to rethink, to explore, to discover, to find new ways, to do more with less. Otherwise, the conversation becomes, the business is not doing well. Things are not coming in. We are kind of slow. Things are down. That is because they don't value that moment in their life. My greatest moments have come not when I was doing well, but when I was broke. My greatest moments have come not when I had it, but I did not have it. I have learned to value scarcity. My marriage, almost 46 years, is strong because we went through hell in the first part of our life. Our first baby was born 1980. We didn't have money to feed her. She needed soy milk, allergic to natural milk. I don't know if anybody in here has ever bought soy milk. It's like gold in a can. They think very highly of themselves. So Brenda and I went down to the social services office with this baby in our arm. And we got the ticket, filled out a book on ourselves. If you ever want to write a book on yourself, go apply for food stamps. You'll know more about yourself than you thought you did. So we filled out a book. We didn't qualify. The baby got milk. We were having fried tortillas, beans, rice, grilled onions on tortillas. There were days in my life and Brenda's life where we just had a peanut jelly sandwich, half of it for lunch, half of it for dinner. Stayed hungry for days. But it was in those days that Brenda and I had to collaborate on our scarcity. And I can tell you, looking back on it, Our marriage is amazing today because we went through hell. I would want my people to understand scarcity is not something we fix. Scarcity is something we leverage for where you're going. That's what S stands for. There will be a test, by the way. So S stands for what? Very good. Good class, good class. Q stands for questions. Questions. I want our organization to value questions. And it's quite a generational thing. When I was growing up, I never asked my dad why. That's why I'm alive today. Anybody else grew up in a home like that? It's like, I'm the king and you're not. So when I hear a question, if I'm not careful as to why this and why that, or what about this, if I'm not careful, I hear that question in a different way than I'm being given the question. So I've got daughters, I've got granddaughter, I've got a son-in-law, I have a grandson-in-law. And all that to say is when people ask questions, it's a canary in the mine, asking questions. All questions are welcome, so I will teach them how to ask questions. You ask questions by not putting somebody else down. You ask questions by not throwing shade on, like some people have been doing this, but you ask questions that are respectful. You ask questions in an honorable way. You ask questions, some questions are to be asked in a group, and some questions are to be asked one-on-one. I would teach them how to ask questions because an organization that cannot question is going to self-destruct eventually. Unfortunately, we're living in a society in which your people, when you ask a question, they think you're making a statement. They think that your question is a leading question. So most people have never learned how to ask what I call healthy, future-oriented questions. I would teach my organization the value of questions and how to ask questions. Because we're living in a time where it's not about the answers, it's about the questions that are being answered. So whatever you are selling is a problem that got monetized. Everything you've ever bought, and everything you're ever selling, it used to be a problem that got monetized. The chair you're sitting in, at one time was a tree stump, something you sat on, right, on a log. It was a problem. But through years, we sell you a chair, we sell you a table. This is for blind people. I can't read without this. It's everything that you sell or buy is a problem monetized. I do a lot of business at a UPS store, get my mail there and stuff like that. The owner, he's got 6 locations and making good money. When COVID happened in 2020, I was in his store in the month of May. His name is John. John says to me, "Hey, Sam, I'm loving it." I said, "Really?" He said, "I have made more money in the last 2 months printing signs 6 feet. Big signs, 6 feet." He said, "I have 6 feet signs. I'm selling them faster than I can produce them." Don't you wish you were in the mask making business? There's a problem monetized. This microphone I'm wearing is a problem monetized. The shirt I'm wearing is a problem monetized. The shoes you're wearing, problem monetized. You go to the barber, to the cosmetic people, it's a problem monetized. This building is a problem monetized. Everything you'll ever buy or sell is a problem monetized. But the problem does not get solved with answers. The problem gets solved with asking more questions. I want people who will ask good questions in an honorable, respectful, appropriate manner. I want them to value questions. So S stands for what? Q stands for? U stands for unafraid of failure. Unafraid of failure. Unafraid of failure. Unafraid of failure. The first book I wrote in the early 90s, the title was Failure, the Womb of Success. Failure, the Womb of Success. I have learned more, grown more as a result of my failures than successes. So in failure, we will either blame somebody or blame a situation or blame a circumstance or blame some external or internal thing that's happening, or we will learn lessons from it, what actually happened, and how do we grow from that. Once you get your team to value failure. Isn't it crazy? I'm trying to teach you everything that's counterintuitive. Valuing scarcity. I mean, when the last time somebody said, hey, you don't have it? That's a great place to be. Questions? Failure. Unafraid of failure. So that what that does is it allows a new muscle. Let me digress for a moment. So people who focus on perfection are focusing on what could go wrong. People who are focusing on excellence are saying, we're going to give it our all, we're going to get behind it 1,000% and see what comes out of that. So failure becomes a learning opportunity. Failure becomes a regrouping opportunity. Failure becomes a lab that we work in. So be it a Steve Jobs or whoever comes to your mind, you see their movies, you read their books, and they tell you about, we went through a valley and then we came up. And then another valley and then we came up. No business and no corporation goes like this. All of our lives are like this. So you have as many peaks as you have valleys. Your success in your business is not contingent on how you are enjoying the fruit of your labor on the mountaintop. The growth of your business happens in the valley. How you deal with the failures. So remember this, we fail at things, but we are not a failure. You are not a failure. You may fail at things, but you don't fail. And once we teach our people the value of failure, that failure is not a bad thing, failure is a learning opportunity. Let's be really careful that we don't have a lot of failure, but if failure happens, nobody is going to be castigated for that. Unafraid of failure. And when failure happens, we don't ask a question of what do we do about this. When failure happens, we ask ourselves this question: how should we think about this? What opportunity is embedded in this failure? I got so many failure stories. I have failed more than I have succeeded. Many times more. But I have learned in my life that if I dig into that failure and not drive past that failure, not blame others for the failure, not blame circumstances for failure, not blame situations for failure, but I say, okay, this thing did not work out. How should I think about that? Because it makes me wiser for the future. Not jaded, not cynical, wiser. Big difference. Jaded and cynical is, I'll never let that happen again. Then it's not a lesson. You are just responding to it. You are just kind of reacting to never again. But the real issue is, how are you asking your people to say when we go through failure? I wrote a book called New Thinking, New Future. New Thinking, New Future. In that book, I premiered a concept that I call the muddy middle. The muddy middle. The muddy middle says that when you start something, an initiative, a product, a service, everyone's really excited about that. Let me just go ahead and do this right here. Everyone's really excited about that. That is over here. And everybody's working toward the celebration that will happen over here. And we start on this journey. We start on this journey. But it doesn't matter who you are, somewhere in here, you're going to hit the muddy middle. And this muddy middle is when enthusiasm is lacking, when results are not coming as quickly as you predicted they would, when not everyone is as excited as they were over here and anticipating over here. But you're going through the muddy middle. So what I did was, I wrote that in my book, but then when I meet with corporations, I simply say to them, I think you got to create this language. Some people would call it failure. I just call it the muddy middle. And so when there's a team working on a project, on an opportunity, a product, I want them to know ahead of time that you will hit the muddy middle. This is not the time to pull back. This is not the time to make excuses. This is not the time to blame other people or circumstance situations. But if I was to do an organization again, I would say to them, hey, just know that we're going through the muddy middle. And when we get there, I want to look around the room and say, listen, when we started there, everyone in this room knew that we will hit the muddy middle. And say, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're at right now. We're just going through the muddy middle. Relax. We're going to be okay. We're just going through the muddy middle. So how do we teach our people to value scarcity? To be free to ask questions, but they know how to ask questions? We don't want you to sit in a meeting and say, why would somebody do that? No, that's where you get slapped. We want them to be unafraid of failure. Oh, let me make sure you got the S stands for what? U stands for, Q stands for? U stands for? Unafraid of failure. I stands for incremental increase. Incremental increase. Incremental increase. Incremental increase. So one of the questions I've asked so many CEOs on every planet, and there's certain questions I ask more for my learning. And one of the questions I ask is, and these are all growing companies, large companies, and one of the questions I ask them is, do you have any regrets? You're doing great right now. Do you have any regrets? And I would say at least 8 out of 10, about 80% of CEOs, entrepreneurs, business incubators, give me the same answer with different verbiage. Here's the common answer I get. We grew too fast. Our systems could not keep up with us. Our resources could not keep up with us. Our software couldn't keep up with us. Our people couldn't keep up with us. Our vision could not keep up with us. We were just not able to do everything because we grew too fast. But the concept of valuing incremental increase. And the words I want you to get behind that is little by little, little by little, little by little. Because most organizations' internal infrastructures are not built for explosive growth. Think about whatever business you're in. If you got 100 new orders today, how are you doing that without crushing your culture and getting a bad name and less than a star rating? Incremental increase. So I want my people to say, we're all for increase, but it's going to be incremental increase, what we call managed growth. Managed growth says we're going to be in step with how we are growing. We're not trying to, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. We're going to, growth is not our only criteria, helping others. Everyone in this room would say, we're in the business of helping others. Would you agree with that? Whatever you do, you're in the business of helping others. And as you are helping others, that's our business, and that is what we want to say to people and really believe it. We want them to know that, hey, listen, everyone has capacity. Everything has a capacity. Your phones have a battery capacity. This room has a capacity. Your car has a capacity. Everything, every human being has capacity. And when you exceed your capacity, you can talk about how quickly they grew and how they blew up, but the same companies are just like shining stars. They were doing great in 2023 and not so much now. And that, my friends, is a very difficult concept for the rank and file to embrace. Of all the things I'm talking about there, that's the hardest one. Because everybody wants to be part of something that's growing and blowing, and I'm all for that. But your systems break down very quickly. Your processes break down very quickly. Your finances break down. Your people break down. Because as you grow, you need higher level people. And if you have the same level people leading higher level operations, it's just gradually and then suddenly. So S stands for? Q stands for? U stands for? I stands for? The next R stands for risks. 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 So I've noticed a trend. And the trend is very simple. When you are digging it out, so to speak, you just kind of working it in your garage, or you just rented this little shared workspace. When you're digging it out, however you want to say it in your context, when you just entrepreneuring it up, you took high risks. You took big risks. But the larger the company gets, the risk threshold goes down. So you get into a protective growth mode rather than a growth itself. Let me put it this way. We start playing not to lose rather than to win. So what kind of teams start playing not to lose? Think it through. Teams that are ahead in the score, teams that are winning, start playing not to lose, and we start playing a defensive posture. See, simply put, risk. When you're 100% sure, you're too late. It's the when and then. And you say, well, we're waiting on this data to come in. We're waiting on this study to come in. By the time you receive that data, the world has moved on. You never get current data. You always get, because data is static. How else to describe this? So there's landscape and there's seascape. You all are familiar with that concept. So landscape is stuff that doesn't move. So if I'm on a beach, and here's the water. If I'm on a beach and that's my hotel over there, that's not moving. At least, hopefully, it's not moving. Okay. So that is landscape. But in front of me is what? Seascape. That is moving, changing directions, volume, everything is changing in front of me. So as companies grow, they become a more landscape rather than seascape. So whatever report you get, whatever data you get, remember that word feasibility study you get, is not current. You don't ever have current information unless it's financial stuff that's churning out right then. You don't have current information. You're always making decisions on past decisions. So risk-taking was easier when you didn't have it. It's harder now that you have a building with your logo on the outside and a parking space reserved CEO. Risks. So S stands for? Q stands for? I stands for? U stands for? R stands for? R stands for? R stands for? Okay. I see the level is going down here. Do you want lunch or not? Because after this, what's going to happen is there'll be a QR code up there, and you can send in your question. It says Q and A. I don't have any A's. I already told you I make up stuff. And I call it response. Q and R. How's that? Okay. The next R stands for relationships. 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 When people are in relationship, they give each other the benefit of the doubt. When people are in relationships, they are willing to collaborate and corroborate. When people are in a relationship, they are willing to cross the aisle and help somebody else. When people are in relationships, they act and behave differently. When people are in relationships. Okay. How many of you, when you're growing up in high school or college, had some friends that, you all hung out all the time, did all kinds of ungodly stuff together. And when you meet them right now, it's like you've been talking every day. How many of you have some, hands everywhere? I remember a few years ago, there were 5 of us, and we call ourselves BACS, B-A-C-K-S. Bobby, Alex, Cedric, Kaushal, Sam. And we hung out and did all kinds of stuff. Sometimes we got caught, but we got out of it. So then we all grew up. I live in the U.S. Some of my friends were living in Germany. Another one was living in Abu Dhabi. Another one was still in India, etc. So we decided, and these are my friends, we WhatsApp every day, even today. That's what we do. But this was when we were 18, 19. Last time was 20. So we were going back and forth, and somebody said, hey, why don't we, our wives have never met, our children have never met, why don't we meet up and do a holiday, a vacation together? Sounded like a great idea. So the guy in Abu Dhabi said, I will host you all in Dubai. So we all the families from different parts of the world met up in Dubai. I was the last, so all of our flights were coming in within an hour of each other from different places. And I was the last guy with my family to come. They were all in an area. And as soon as we saw each other, now remember, now we are older married, kids. As soon as we saw each other, we went into all the stuff we used to do. The elbow and we had our own signals, had our own rituals. So here we are, 5 of us, in this parking area outside the airport in Dubai, going through all of that. And our wives are looking at us like, these are boys. I married a boy. Hadn't seen them in 20-some years. And yet, in that moment, it was all there because of what? One word, relationships. I don't think organizations spend enough time building some kind of manner in which it's relationship building. It can be done in small groups, large groups, really doesn't matter how you do that. How do we value? Because people who play together stay together. Do you have a budget for play? Because if you want to keep your best talent, you can pay them. But if they have relationships inside the organization. So I want to teach, if I was to ever do another organization, I would want my people to know, hey, listen, we all have jobs to do, we all do things, but that's where relationships comes in. That's why you're nice to other people. That's why you say hello to people. That's why you invite people if you want to do different things. We want people to be in relationship because if they're in relationship, your company will be healthy. And for that, it is on the leader's responsibility to create systems in which relationship building takes place. It could be bowling, it could be a ball game, it could be eating out, it could be a picnic. Really doesn't matter. It could be in different sizes. One of my clients right now on the West Coast has 600 employees. He cannot do all 600 together, but he can break it down into 20s. He can have a supervisor say, hey, guy, here's the money twice a year. Can you do something together? Figure it out. Go to a ball game together. Do something together. I want people to value relationships. Let me go to E. E is I want them to value eruptions in the organization, like a volcano. I want them to value eruptions. Every organization will have eruptions. Growth is an eruption. Loss is an eruption. New people coming in is an eruption. People leaving is an eruption. Getting a raise for everybody can be eruptive. Not getting a raise 3 years in a row can be eruptive. Changing schedules can be eruptive. Hey, anybody in here ever changed softwares? That's what I'm talking about. Because the software company came in and sold you, this will answer everything. So in question and answer, they say, can it do this? Yes. Can it do that? Yes. Can this department talk to that department? Yes. Can it do this report? Yes. Of course, that's how they sell stuff, by saying yes. And the IT people, I'm going to be careful. There might be IT people in this room. Don't come. No. I'm knee deep already. How about this? IT people are different. This is different. And then you get the software. You get the software. And the screen looks different. Things don't work. Yeah, you got civil war going on the inside. And then the conversation is, who? They can't get the other words without cussing. And I hate this. Can we get the old software back? They said that they would, all the data from this is going to merge into that. And it's all jumbled up. It's taking me 3 days to do what used to take me 2 hours. You all have heard that story. Eruption. I want my people to know we will have eruptions. And there'll be eruptions I cannot fix. But you will have eruptions. Adding people to a team is eruptions. Because everything, like Stephen Covey Jr. said in the title of his famous book, great book, it's called The Speed of Trust. Everything goes at the speed of trust. So let's just say, what's her name? Trisha. Alexis. Did you just make that up? You had to think about it, yeah. Oh, you had a mint in your mouth. Okay, very good, okay. What do I know? So Trisha, Alexis, and your name, ma'am? Kelly. Trisha, Alexis, and Kelly. So I'm at a cafe on a sidewalk. Trisha and I are good friends. I mean, just like that. There's no daylight between us. I mean, 100% trust. So on a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 10. So as Trisha and I are talking, Alexis comes by, and she says, I see her coming. Trisha sees her coming. But both of us trust Alexis on a scale of 1 to 10 at a 7. So somebody tell me what happened to the level of conversation. A few minutes ago it was a what? 10, but now it is a 7. And remind me your name again? Kelly. Kelly comes up and sees, she knows all of us. She stopped by, and on a scale of 1, sorry about this, Kelly. In the scale, yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 2. So, conversation started at what level? It went from there to 2. And that is what happens when you add a team member. You can introduce them however you want to. They can be checked out on LinkedIn and everything else. You can do everything. You can do everything. But just because Kelly, totally qualified, exceptional add to the team, but we don't know her like that. So how do we let people know there's not just departures, it is additions? I have found addition. So once somebody departs, it's like, okay, they're gone. They're gone. And I can put a barrier there and we can move on. But when Kelly walks up, yesterday in our meeting, we were having at least a 7-level conversation. But now, we can talk like we used to talk. So I would prepare my team for moments of eruption, growth, loss, people coming, people leaving, having money, not having money, making great sales, not having enough sales, having more clients, not having enough clients. Eruption. And if you don't do that, your team is going to come up with its own vernacular, its own language, its own descriptors. Like things are not good right now. No, we are going through an eruptive moment. Good things are waiting to happen if we behave ourselves during the eruption. And the L stands for leadership, leadership, leadership. Leadership. I want to give you the job description for every leader. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do, what your role is. Here are the 3-point job description. They all start with the letter D. discover, develop, deploy. Discover, develop, deploy. Let me make sure that you got it. Everyone together, you do what? Discover, develop, deploy. Every leader has to make it their responsibility to discover other people. I'm talking about people now. Because leaders lead people. Managers lead organizations and teams. So as a leader, you're always discovering. Everyone in this room is here because somebody discovered you. Somebody discovered you. Somebody tapped you on your shoulder. Somebody gave you your first job. Somebody believed in you. I know for me, as an immigrant, in 1973, people bought me clothes. I came to America, I had never done laundry before. I'd never done laundry in my life before because in our society, it's very patriarchal. So the ladies do that. I've taken my wife, she's white. I've taken my wife to India so many times to show her That's what she does. She laughs at me too. How it is supposed to be done. And she looks at me saying, babe, we're just visiting. We're going back home. So I'd never done laundry before. So I went to the laundromat on campus, and I did not know you had to separate the colored clothes from the white clothes. Didn't have that many clothes to begin with. So I threw them into the washer. In those days, you could do it for a quarter, cha-ching. Some of you remember that laundromat thing, and the coin drops. And then I picked it up from there and put it in the commercial dryer. It was a barrel, that vertical dryer. It had a lever on it saying hot, warm. I'm thinking logically, you're drying stuff, right? So hot. I put it in hot. When I got my clothes out, I could not recognize them. Nothing looked the same. I put on my pants the next day, and they were like this. My shorts were like this. I remember going to class. I was a freshman going to class, and Larry King was one of the fellow students. And he looked at me, and he said, Sam, so this had to be, I got here in August of 1973. It's still August. I've been here a week, maybe. He says, you need some clothes. I like people who are discerning like that. And I still remember he put me in his car and took me down Glenwood Avenue in Atlanta to a Goodwill store. Gave me $20. Gave me $20. $20? 1973? Goodwill? Can I have another cart? I mean, because of Larry King. I'll just tell you one more story. So, went to church, and there was this couple, Dwayne and Paulette Thomas. And they said to me, hey, listen, we'd like to take you out for lunch and then buy you some clothes. Wonderful. So they put me in their car, took me to a cafeteria called Piccadilly. I'd never seen that much food in my life. Those rolls, when you don't know how you're going to eat, every pocket becomes a repository. And then after that, we went to South DeKalb Mall. And after that, it walked me down to J.C. Penney. And I remember what I bought there, my first pair of new pants. My shirt was turtleneck silk beige. My pants were black polyester with ruffles. But they didn't have my shoes, so we crossed over flat soles, went to Kmart. And I got shoes with heels like this. Yeah, those were the days. Heels like this, platforms. Some of you wore those. Don't look at me like, You have no idea what I'm talking about. It had 5 colors. It had 5 colors. I'm just telling you, and I got thousands of the stories of people who bought gas for my car, who put tires in my car, who bought me clothes, who gave me $5, who helped me make a phone call to India to talk to my parents. In those days, it was $5 a minute. Somebody discovered you. So never come to a place in which you think, I'm all that and a bag of chips. I want people around me to be discoverers. Because nobody looks like you want them to look when you first find them. And then you want them to develop other people. Development is different from training. Development is different from training. Training is focused on a task. Development is about a person. I can teach you what to do, when to do it, how to do the invoice, how to stack this, how to make the call. I can train you in all of that. But development is how do we have people skills. Development is how do we help others. Development is how do we deal with conflict. Development is how do you present a new idea. Development is how do you course correct. You develop you train for task and you develop for people. Most organizations I've worked with have been overtrained and underdeveloped. So you have people who are brilliant, but they are jerks or jerkess. Don't want to leave anybody out. It's like, what about us? What about us? Some of the best workers I've had, can get the job done on time, no reminders, under budget. But boy, in the process of doing that, they destroy people and goodwill. And you have to go behind them and keep cleaning up their messes. I want to develop people. I want my team to be developers. Trainers I can hire. Developers you cannot hire. Can I say that again? Trainers you can hire. Developers has to come from somewhere within. So you discover, you develop, and then deploy. Deploy means that we are always looking to move people up, higher, with greater responsibilities. We deploy them into other arenas. So if I could meet with my executive team, I would say to them, guys, you have a lot of work to do. But really, my report card on you is simply this. Who have you discovered? Once a quarter, I want a report from you. Who did you discover? Once a quarter, I want the same report to tell me, what are you doing to develop people? And then, once a quarter, for the same people, I want you to tell me, who are you deploying? Discover, develop, deploy. So we're supposed to do some questions and responses now. So if you want to come on up, after that session is over, I got one more story to tell, and then we'll have lunch. It's 11:43 in case you're wondering. So, as he's coming up, S stands for? And I'll start all over again. Yeah. S stands for? U stands for? U stands for? R stands for? R stands for? R stands for? E stands for? And L stands for? Good class. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Very good. Very good.
Even have a stool for you. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we have some good questions coming in. If you have a question, there's a QR code on the screen that you can put it in. We also will have a mic going around if you have a question in person. This just helps us control it. All right, such good stuff. Thank you, Sam. Such good stuff. Oh my goodness. This first question comes, what is the best way to manage a situation where you've missed the graduallys and suddenly you have a problem?
Run. What I have discovered is that Let me get closer to you here. Yeah. What I've discovered is that it's the elephant in the room. And it's not how you handle it. This is the how is not the important thing here. You've got to bring yourself to the table. You've got to acknowledge it. You've got to be humble about it. Can I say that again? You've got to be humble about it. You've got to resist the urge to blame and focus people on where do we go from here. Because that is not the time to do an autopsy. That is the time for your integrity to shine through. It is in those moments people get a glimpse of who you are, not what you do, not what title is, who you are. And how you handle the situation and bring yourself to the table and have integrity about it, have honor about it, have respect about it, not vilifying somebody, not throwing somebody under the bus, not excusing yourself. Because if you are the lead leader, the buck doesn't just stop there, it starts there as well. So I think the best way to do it is to acknowledge it, be humble about it, redirect the focus to where we go from now, and let who you are shine through in a difficult time.
That's good. That's good. Do you encourage a more of a like a committee kind of approach to it? I know you kind of joked about the committee idea, but like to have multiple people, because some people see the elephant from the trunk view, some people see it from the leg view, and so do you find that to be advantageous when dealing with something big, or is it more of the leader needs to really identify it first in themselves before bringing others into that equation?
Again, every answer I'm giving, of course I'm making it up, but
Yeah.
every
What's your
answer-
response to
every
this?
response I'm giving has stories. So when he asks me a question, my brain is like Google, it is searching for everything that I have seen in 40-some years of my life, just doing what I do, working with corporations, working with organizations, for-profit and non-profit. The larger the room, the lower solution orientation. Because now people get measured because Kelly is in the room now. Sorry. So what I have preferred is to have a conversation with maybe 2 or 3 people, then 2 or 3 people, then 2 or 3 people, then 2 or 3 people, because you don't want it to become an echo chamber. And when dogs, this is not going to be good, but anyhow, when dogs run in packs, they act differently than when you deal with a dog at a time. So because once that conversation turns sideways, it's very difficult for you to stop it, because now you are quenching or tapping it down. So I would divide it into 2, 3 people, 2, 3 people, 2, 3 people, and then get everyone together and say, this is what I've learned. I've taken notes, this is what I've learned. Different ones have said different things. No names, but this is where we're at. And with that, where do we go from there? That's you don't solve problems in a large group.
That's good. Okay, from the crowd, how do you change an established culture? One that started wrong and is continuing to go wrong?
This is a difficult one. So the ultimate question is, if we keep going this way, where's the train going? Bankruptcy, if it goes that way. If I stop it now, I'm going to have internal bleeding, but I will not die. And that is where you earn your pay. How to deal with it courageously, and how to deal with it with dignity, honoring, respect. At the same time, you have to say, we got to stop this. If you don't stop it, you know where the train is going. Most leaders who do not stop it basically lack courage. Can I tell you something? In leadership, assume there will be blood on the floor. Hopefully more of theirs than yours. If you think you can do, I wrote a book in 2015 called Leadership Pain. Leadership Pain. It's my bestseller right now. It came out 10 years ago, and under its category on Amazon is still in the top 30. Think about that. There's no way to do leadership at the level you want to do leadership and avoid pain. The thesis of that book is, and I'm not trying to sell you that book, Leadership Pain, but you can buy it, is the thesis of the book is you will grow only to the threshold of your pain. So pain avoidance is not, leadership is not for wusses and wimps. Leadership needs a backbone and courage. And if keeping people happy is your goal in life, you will be the most unhappy person alive. Because none of us in this room can keep everyone happy. But you have a responsibility. So I'm not asking you to be jerks. I'm not asking you to go off on people. But I'm asking you to be the courageous one, knowing there'll be pain. But this pain will not be as bad as if you keep on with it.
Yeah, indeed. You mentioned a book. What book are you reading, or what book would you recommend for developing your leadership? Aside from one of your many books, obviously.
Yeah. The book that I wrote in 1996, I believe, was self-published book. It's been republished over a dozen times. I got known for that book. And the book was simply called Who's Holding Your Ladder? Who's Holding Your Ladder? And the premise is that if you're the visionary and the ladder you're climbing is your vision, your ascent up the ladder is not dependent on your vision or your vision climbing skills. It depends on who's holding your ladder. And in there I talk about the I call it staff, S-T-A-F-F. I want my ladder holders to be strong. By that I mean they handle instruction correction. T stands for they're teachable. A stands for they're attentive, learn quickly. F stands for they are firm. And this F stands for they are faithful. So that's my best book when you're talking about teams, who's holding your ladder.
That's awesome. In the discovery phase of people, how do you assess people that turn out to be different from what they promised after they have already engaged with the company for a few months?
Mm-hmm. Happens a lot. Happens a lot. I think that's the time to have a conversation. Remember, the earlier you handle it, the better off you are. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. So if you know, or as early as you know that's not a fit, it's not going to work, we cannot repair this, it's not going to happen, you got to deal with it then. So what people do is either they relocate them into some other part of the organization, they give them different assignment for which they are suited better, or they terminate them. I hate even saying this, but earlier termination is a blessing to you. I have carried people out of loyalty, out of, his mama just had cancer, things that as a human being you want to deal with. They moved across the country to take this job. termination is usually the better way. Now, you all can have a better way, and that's okay. You have your context. I don't know your context. I do know this, that now you're working hard to not only carry them. So your team is asking these questions. Your team is saying, so Trisha, I'm going to be, you're the CEO now, okay? So you're up there now. The team is asking these questions. Does she see what we see? Question number one. Does she see what we see? Question number two is, does she see what we see and is still not dealing with it? Question number three is, how come she doesn't see what we see? And then the worst question is, when is somebody going to do something about this? I said to you those four things because your leadership now becomes questioned when you don't deal with that situation. And you are the one who loses leadership equity, while for all kinds of different reasons, you're trying to keep these people on. So when you do that, there'll be misunderstanding, understanding. You got to be careful that you don't go spend time justifying your actions. You don't vilify anybody. You try to make as clean of a break as possible.
That's good. Okay, last question, then you said you had a quick story that you want to share so that we can get everybody to lunch. But last question, I feel like it's a good one that you can give a sentence to here. But how can you foster motivation when the environment is going through an eruption?
The greatest demotivator in any organization, this is a simple question for me. I've seen this movie so many times. It's like the Titanic. There's no suspense in this movie. You're not saying, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You know it's going down. The greatest demotivator in any organization are other demotivated people. Listen, you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, you will not live long enough to keep people motivated. You're not a cheerleader, even though that may be part of your portfolio responsibility, but you're not the cheerleader. The focus is not on the demotivated people, but the focus is on the people who are demotivators. And that you have to deal with, because they get emboldened by the day. They take more territory by the day. They gain more credibility with other people by the day. So let me give you an illustration and then finish up, huh? You go to the doctor today, and that goes along with that question. You go to the doctor today, and thank you, by the way, for putting up with me today. I'm grateful for that. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Grateful. You go to the doctor today, and the doctor says to you, hey, so glad you came in time. We have discovered cancer on your right shoulder. But it's in early stages. We can get it. We can get it all. And with a little rehab, you'll be good. And the doctor said, on another hand, the surgeon says, on the other hand, not only it's early stages, it's here, it's localized, but I have a cancellation next Wednesday when I can do the surgery, because after that, the next available is going to be in December when I can do surgery. I have a question for you. Which appointment are you going to take? Next Wednesday or wait till December? I can't hear you. Yeah, next Wednesday. Why are you going to take next Wednesday? Because if you leave it alone, what's going to do? It's going to grow. They may have to amputate your arm. it might reach into your lungs. It's going to grow. So the sooner you do the surgery, the better off you are. Almost everybody in this room knows who's got to go. But you're waiting till December. May I suggest next Wednesday? I was doing an executive roundtable for one organization, and I was there for a day and a half. And we had about 25, 28 people in the room. All of them were higher up in the organization. And during the course of conversation, I heard things like, some people this, some people that, this is not working out that. So we were talking like that. And I got tired of that. And I said to them, okay, everybody stand around this room. And I gave them each one a piece of paper and a pen. And I said, look around this room. If there was one person you could fire, put their name on it. Did you know they all named the same person? Except for one? Everybody in your organization knows who's got to go, but you're going to hire a consultant like me who's going to charge you money to tell you what you already know. Everybody knows. And the longer you wait, this is a terrible note to end this on, but yeah, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, because you're already thinking about who that person is. Everybody in this room is thinking of somebody. Because the longer you wait, your own leadership equity is going down. I want to conclude with a quote from Alvin Toffler, a British philosopher, leadership philosopher. I'll say it 2-3 times. Alvin Toffler said this: the illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read or write. The illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'm going to say it 2 more times. The illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read or write. The illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. One more time. I read that quote in 1989. I still remember that. It affected me deeply because it has helped me in my life. The illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read or write. Alvin Toffler goes on to say, the illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. My challenge for you is not number 1. My challenge for you is not number 3. As I move towards my seat and hopefully lunch, my challenge to you is, what do I need to unlearn? Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. So great. All right, guys, we're gonna get you to lunch. This is a grab lunch, bring it back to the table. We're gonna keep everything going. We wanna respect your time so well, but I do have another giveaway. And we believe in continuing growth and education and information as we're doing this. So Sam Chan has this incredible bundle on his website. Brilliant marketing by Sam Chan. He named his website, are you all ready? samchan.com. Brilliant. You'll never forget it. It should be squirrel.com. You got to think about that. Okay. But anyways, he has these bundles, and I have 4 of them that I want to give away of 4 of his, it's 6 of his books. But Jim Waters, where are you at, Jim? Jim Waters, I know you checked in. If you're in the bathroom, it's going to be awkward when you come running. Okay, if you don't run up, I have to move on. Okay. Jill Sintlinger, if I said that right. Yes, awesome. Come on down. Come on down. Give it up for him. Desmond Aguirre. Desmond Aguirre. Yes, awesome. Come on down. And Hannah Breckenfeld. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, come on up to the front real quick. It's so important that we always keep this going. We keep our knowledge growing, and hopefully this can help add some value to you. Y'all got here quick. There you go. Awesome, 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 awesome. Give it up for him one more time. There you go. That's so great. Okay. I know that you want to hear more from Dr. Chan. Go check out his website, samchan.com. If you want to hear this entire presentation over again, we'll have it up on our Hope Fellowship YouTube page next week. We'll send out a link with a follow-up email when it's ready. Make sure that you are a part of that. Sam talked a whole lot about firing people that don't belong. So if I'm not here after lunch, means I didn't do a good job up front. Hopefully I am. But go grab food, bring it back to the table. We're gonna get right into more of our content as we get going. And it's all out there on the other side of the lobby. So make sure that you grab it and come right back. We'll see you soon.
Hello, my Hope Fellowship family and Good Leader Conference. I hope you guys are just having an amazing day so far. My name is Randy Parrish, and I'm the owner of Parrish Roofing Solutions, and we are so thrilled to be one of the sponsors here at this incredible event. So Parrish Roofing Solutions is a full-service, family-run roofing and restoration company specializing in anything on your roof, from the smallest of repairs and general maintenance all the way up to the big stuff, the full roof replacements, and literally everything in between. When you work with Parrish Roofing Solutions, it's our heart that you are not a transaction to us. You are somebody who we care about, we want to establish a long-term relationship with, because look, we live in DFW and things are going to continue to happen, and we want to make sure you know that you got a guy. That you got a guy that you can rely on, that you can trust. You can send text messages or photos anytime something happens, and we can kind of walk you through that process and provide the proper solutions that you need. I'm gonna have my phone number up here on the screen. What I suggest is you take that down, plug it into your phone. Randy Parrish, Parrish Roofing, Randy the Christian Roofer, whatever helps you. Remember that you got the guy to call, to reach out to when your time of need hits. My wife and I are actually here today. We got a table out in the lobby. We'd love the opportunity to meet you, shake your hand, and just get to know you a little bit. That way you kind of know who it is that you'll be reaching out to when that time does come. Hope Fellowship, I love you so much. We'll see you soon. God bless. How are we doing, Hope Fellowship? It's good to see everybody today. Man, this is actually our second year being the title sponsor for this event, so just want to thank Hope for allowing us to be involved and plugged into, in this capacity, and also just thank you for putting on this event. I think it's really cool for us to be able to gather at our local church and to, learn about leadership and business strategies and things like that, and just really have Hope partner with us, along for that ride as well. So, Parrish Roofing Solutions, we are a family-run business, so it wouldn't be fair for me to just steal the entire spotlight. So I want to introduce you guys to what we got. I think we got a photo here of the whole crew. Maybe? There we are. Look at that. So that's my amazing wife, Priscilla. We've been married 9 years now. We actually started Parrish Roofing Solutions together 5 months after we got married. So, I figured once I locked her down, I can really start taking some risks. So that's what we did. And that more so reminds me of what that photo shoot looked like. It's really impressive how you photographers, if there's any in the room, how y'all can capture that singular nanosecond where it doesn't look like it's the worst day of everybody's life in that moment. So that's my memory of that day. All right, you can pop on to the next one. All right, so last year while I was up here, I really leaned into and shared my personal story, kind of shared my journey on how I've gotten to where I am right now. I talked a lot about my faith and how that intertwines with my business, and for a lot of it, I actually felt like they were battling against each other and really trying to reconcile that. So I really leaned into that. I am here. I've got a table out there. I am more than happy to talk about anything with any of you guys. If y'all want to come by and introduce yourselves, I'd love to meet you guys. But this year, I am going to talk a little bit more shop with you guys because there's a lot of big things happening around our area that affect all of us. If you're a North Texas resident, this stuff affects you. So I want to share some insights. I do have a unique perspective in my line of work that I want to kind of share with you guys and just, educate the market a little bit. But prior to doing that, I would like to kind of get a gauge on the audience here. I know there's a couple of you in here because I spoke to you out there in the lobby. By a show of hands, anybody here in the insurance space, work with the insurance space at all? Agents, agencies, okay, we got a couple in here. My advice right now to anybody who did not raise their hand, maybe look around again if y'all want to throw your hands up one more time. If you do not have a connection or a relationship with your insurance agent, I can't tell you how important that is. I get asked all of the time, who's the best insurance carrier? I'm not really happy with the way this claim process is going. I want to look at a change. Who do you recommend? Who should I stay away from? My answer is always the same. Your agent is more important than the carrier because no matter what carrier you're with, everything's going to come back to that policy, that initial policy that was written for you guys. And if you don't have that relationship and that connection, and when you signed up with that policy, if you were kind of price shopping, which, hey, a lot of us do, I've been there too, it can be very dangerous. So just having that connection with your agent, man, it is just so important. So what I wanted to really dive into, what I really want to discuss, this is a conversation that I have, at least on a weekly basis with numerous different clients, is just kind of what's happening in that insurance world. As a roofing contractor, about 90% of what we do is insurance related, insurance claims, things like that. Now, there's like repairs and things like that that are not, associated with an insurance claim, but the big stuff, the roof replacements, are almost always insurance claim related. We all know our insurance premiums are going up. I'm sure I don't have to educate you guys on that. That is just happening year over year at a more rapid rate than I've ever seen before. But the scarier part, at least to me, is not about the premiums, it's about the deductibles. The deductibles are skyrocketing, and I'm sure there's a lot of you in this room already who have received the notice from their carrier letting you know that you're going from a 1% to 2% deductible upon your renewal. When I first started in this industry about 12 years ago, deductibles were all pretty easy. Flat rate, $500, $1,000. You get hit with severe weather, you got to replace your roof and your gutters and your siding. You pay your little $500,000 deductible and you're off to the races. Well, a couple years after that, it shifted to the percentage model. All right, 1% deductibles across the board, basically. That's all we ran into. It's not 1% of the project cost, by the way. It's 1% of your total net coverage. So $400,000 of coverage is going to be a $4,000 deductible. And we stayed there for a while. But now recently, over the last year or two, we are seeing spikes like you wouldn't believe, from 1% to 2% to 2.5%. I'm running into 3% deductibles. Guys, these are becoming unmanageable. And I think it would be irresponsible for any of us to think that this trend is going to just stop here, where it is right now. I don't think so. It's going to continue to rise. Deductibles are getting higher and higher, and eventually I believe that we are going to reach a place where your deductible is so high that it's equal to the cost of the repairs that you're filing the claim for in the first place. That's going to put us into a retail market for a lot of these repairs, and this is not cheap stuff. So my advice where we are right now, while we still have some assistance from the insurance carriers and they're still willing to pay out the vast majority of the cost of these projects, is number one, if you have storm damage on your house, on your roof, wherever it is, if you have storm damage that needs to be repaired, now is not the time to just sit on that. Now is not the time to say, well, you know what, my roof isn't leaking, so I'm okay right now. Now's the time to act on it. Now, I'm not talking about filing claims prematurely by any means, but if you have the damage, if it's there, it needs to be addressed. Number two, we cannot continue to install these products, these roofing systems that are only lasting 8 to 10 years because the next storm comes through. We've got to install, we're in DFW, we have got to install more durable solutions that are going to keep you from having to file that claim or, God forbid, have to take on the full cost of these projects on your own. We've got to look at other options, which are out there. It's just about being educated. So something that Parish Roofing Solutions does, something that we started this year, is that we don't install anything outside of Class 4 shingles. So for those of you who don't know, a Class 4 shingle is specifically designed to withstand hail and wind damage, primarily hail damage. That's what's requiring most of these roofs to be replaced. But that's what we're starting. That's our base level now. It's a pretty significant upgrade from where you're probably currently sitting at, but it works. And it's really going to work the next time that big storm comes in, and you may be able to avoid that high-cost project. So, guys, like I said before, I do have a table out in the lobby. I'd love to meet any of you guys. If y'all want to swing by and shake my hand, introduce yourself, I'd love to meet you, answer any questions that you may have. Or you know what? We can even talk some pickleball if y'all are down for that. So, once again, my name is Randy. Thank you so much, Hope Fellowship. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you out there.
All right, thank you, Randy. Thank you, Randy, so much. Again, guys, please give it up again one more time for Randy Parrish, Parrish Roofing. It's so great. Again, we appreciate and value our relationship with our sponsors and to invest in what we're doing. It's so huge. We're so grateful. He was also nice enough to provide pins for our goodie bags. However, he did not provide enough of them. And we have issues now, but he did give us money, so we'll overlook it. If you didn't get a pin in your bag, go visit his booth and just go and say, I want my pin. And he has told me that he will give everybody a pin as well as a good deal. All right. We're going to get into our time with our kind of, again, more of that TED Talk style. We're going to have some time with our speakers, but then also some Q&A time. You'll see the QR code that will pop up on the screen. Text that in. That goes to us to where we can organize the questions and just have a nice flow with that at the end. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. And also, if you are ever out into the lobby, our social media team will be out there. They'll ask you some questions just to help kind of find out where you're at. It'll be help for us to promote future events. So if you don't mind, we have a photo booth over there. Obviously, take some photos at the photo booth. But also, if you see our social media team out there, take a second, just let them ask you a couple of questions. We'd greatly appreciate that as well. All right. Very excited to start our first speaker for the afternoon. Keep eating, keep enjoying. Obviously, feel free to go and do everything that you need to do. We don't need another lesson from Sam about what to do after you've eaten. But whatever you need to do, restrooms are on the other side of the lobby over there. So make yourselves at home as far as all of that goes. We'll have some people helping with trash as well as we go. Our first speaker for this afternoon, he is a friend. He's a member of Hope Fellowship, but he is somebody who I have known the voice of for years and years. He's a radio personality. He's an entrepreneur. He's a storyteller. Ben Rogers is the co-host of the beloved Ben and Skin Show. A long-running sports talk staple here in North Texas. He has done so many things, and right now he's the co-founder of Rollertown Beer Works in Frisco. So he timed it so perfectly, because if you've driven down Main Street and all the construction right down downtown Frisco, it's so super annoying, but it's not his fault. It's so great. It's not his fault. It's the city just messing up the road to do whatever, and he just gets to build a building right next to it. Nobody thinks it's him at all. So brilliant timing, but we're so excited to hear from him. You might not know his face, but you definitely know his voice. Will you please help me welcome Ben Rogers to the stage?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have this, I've never used one of these microphones that's just attached to you everywhere you go. So you guys got to hear my old man there. I was like, oh, as I walked up the steps. So I am a radio talk show host. I'll be on the radio today from 3 to 6 on 97.1 The Eagle. And thank you, that one person over there. That's indicative of our ratings also. So I'll be doing a radio show today with a guy that I met in 1982 in Richardson. We grew up here locally, and I want you all to think back to like your friends from when you were 12, and imagine if you tricked a giant corporation into paying you just to goof off with that friend every day for the rest of your life. That's kind of the dream that I'm fortunate enough to live. But it didn't start that way. And I will say, I suffer big time from anxiety, imposter syndrome, all those things. I'm like, man, somebody's going to walk in here and go, dude, how did you get in here? Get out of here. So it did not help watching Sam Chan be one of the greatest speakers I've ever seen in my entire life, knowing I had to walk up on stage after that. Thank you for that, by the way. And I sat there taking notes, and I was like, all right, how does this apply to me? What can I offer here? And I was really happy to zero in on a couple different things. Number one, being unafraid to fail. That's the number one attribute that I bring to the table. I don't think it's the mental skills. It's obviously not physical skills. I can't wear a shirt like Chad. I'm the guy too close to the candy bowl that can't turn it down. But somehow along the way, I got unafraid of failing. And I want to tell you how that happened. So I want everybody right now to close their eyes and envision their favorite rapper. Now open your eyes. Does it look like me? So I grew up in Richardson with two brothers. Both my brothers, absolute rock stars. One ended up being the CMO of Walmart. One ended up being the brand manager for 7-Up. Like, they're just huge rock stars. I was a career idiot the whole way. Just total black sheep of the family. Just the biggest parental concern my parents had to worry about. And at some point, each one of my brothers, president of the student council, straight A's. I was a career C student. The teachers all knew I was a little bit of a class clown. And, along the way, I piled onto that by telling my dad I was dropping out of college to be a rapper. With my best friend, Skin, who I'd known since I was 12. He told his dad he was dropping out of college, too. And we made a real go of it. Now, I graduated from high school in 89. I did go back to college and eventually finished in 99, but I am not a doctor. I'm a washed-up rapper is what I am. And so we got really close. Like, we opened up for Naughty by Nature and House of Pain and Gang Starr. And, like, if any big rap group came through Dallas, chances are we had the opportunity to open up for them. And then we just kept waiting for that moment to make it and waited a little longer and then just waited a little long and then kept waiting. And then eventually, like, all right, we can't do this. And so hung it up, and I was devastated. Honestly, I was suicidal. I had poured everything into that dream to where I was convinced this is what I'm supposed to be. I mean, it's so crazy because I look like a police officer. But over the process of becoming a rapper, especially if you look like me, you have to learn how to freestyle rap, which is impromptu, making things up at the time, thinking super quickly, like rapping about a backpack or a box lunch or whatever, and you got to get really good at that. And so for years, I practiced that and got really good, got quick on my feet. And even though it didn't end up leading me to a rap career, it's shocking the way things work out. And maybe there's a higher power, or maybe there's another plan. I don't know, but we'll circle back to that. But so unafraid to fail. Here I was, I had failed. I didn't know what I was going to do next. And I decided, I had a series of terrible jobs. I was Al Bundy. I sold shoes at the mall. I worked in collections. I would call you during dinner to ask you to pay your Visa bill. I mean, the worst jobs you can imagine, I had those. I hit absolute rock bottom. And at some point along the way, I had a job. I had to wake up at 5 a.m., go cut business cards, and then go deliver those business cards throughout the Metroplex. I was driving a old Volkswagen Jetta that had the car stereo stolen from the state fair that I never replaced. I had borrowed my mom's jam box that was missing an antenna, and I put a coat hanger in it so I could catch a radio signal. While I was on my low-paying delivery job, I heard this radio station, Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. Has anybody heard The Ticket before? And I was like, hey, this sounds like the conversations that me and Skin have. Like, these are just people talking about sports, but it was an interesting time in the evolution of sports talk radio because it was going from being all stats to being kind of entertainment-based. Like, I was like, these guys are musicians. They're funny. Like, Gordon Keith is the funniest human being maybe that ever walked the earth. This is not what it used to be. And I thought, hey, I think Skin and I think we can do that. Now, anybody I would go tell, they would go, oh, my God, please don't go down this road again. Remember the rap thing and the whole, remember? And but I was undeterred because I had failed and survived. I was like, I chased a dream, did not get it, so why wouldn't we try to do that? And funny the way life works, the way we got into The Ticket is the shows like to have funny intro songs, segment intros and things like that. But the guys weren't necessarily great at making intro songs, they were great at having those conversations. And so Skin and I started making intro songs and submitting them, and we did an intro song for Norm Hitzges. And it went, he doesn't come to laugh when he covers the draft because he's an old school true pioneer of the craft. Thought it was great. I could tell. That reaction is why I'm not a rapper. But The Ticket was like, okay, there's a little something to that. And we kind of got our foot in the door. Now, I had gone back to college. I got a degree in marketing, and I wanted to get a job selling television advertising. And I was interviewing with a TV station called K-Star 49. It was like they showed Maverick games and Andy Griffith reruns. It wasn't a great station, but it was a way to get my foot in the door in that business. And this reminds me of something Sam said. There was this moment where maybe somebody discovered me, or maybe I just got lucky. But I'm super nervous in my first job interview out of college. And my hands are shaking, my voice is kind of quivering. And the guy interviewing me is a big deal. He's the GM of that station, but he was a local legend. And he's just breaking the ice with me, and he said, you come from a big family? And I said, well, my dad's about 5'11" and 275. And he started cracking up. Years later, he told me, do you know why I gave you that job? You had the funniest joke in our interview. And I was like, if that guy's willing to tell a joke in a high-pressure situation, I got to hire this guy. I was not joking. I was like, you hired me for that? It's like 20 years later. I was serious. And so I get a job selling television advertising. Now, all this is happening simultaneously while I'm kind of doing weekends, Maverick post-game shows, vacation fill-ins on Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. And along that time, my wife and I have been together now for 32 years, and I'll never forget what her grandma said about me. She said, I like him, I just don't think he'll ever be able to hold down a job, which was a really good scouting report. The irony is, after that, all I do is hold down jobs. And so while I was selling television advertising, I was using my vacation time to do radio on The Ticket and grinding and chasing that dream. And meanwhile, I really liked selling advertising. I thought it was great. And so I didn't really know where my life was going, but I was chasing something that I loved to do. And, the idea of things happening gradually, exactly what happened. It wasn't, boom, I made it on the radio. I grinded for years and years and years. And then in 2008, I had finally been pretty successful in television advertising sales. And I'll tell you some pretty embarrassing stories about that. But I'd gotten pretty good, and I had my first full-time radio opportunity. Now, because I waited 10 years to, get a real job, get out of college, once I finally started making money, I tried to make up for all the years that I had nothing. And I'll tell you the dumbest thing I did. I bought a saltwater aquarium. If you've never had one, it's an incredible adventure. There's a beautiful little ecosystem living in this glass box, and it's in your house, and you get to impact it. And it's just like having a fireplace for your money. It's as if you took all of your cash and you put it in a fireplace and you just set it on fire. That's all it is. You buy a fish, you buy some other thing decorative, you get bored with it, you buy something else. And at one point along the way, I was at the pet store, and what else you got? And they're like, well, we got a shark. I was like, oh my God, what? You got a shark? I could get a shark? Yes. And of course, I didn't have kids at that point. My wife was more consulting me more than she's managing me like she is now. She's more my direct manager now. I was just a consultant at the time. She allowed it, no kids. That shark was the worst investment I ever made in my life. It hid all day, and then at night, it would pop out and eat like a $28 dinner. It would eat one of the other expensive saltwater fish. And that was the stage I was in my life. I was just trying to overcompensate for being broke for so long, trying to figure out what's going to be next for me. And in 2008, I got my first full-time opportunity to go full-time on the radio at a station called Live 105.3. At that time, I had 2 kids, and one was in diapers, and one was just recently out of diapers. And I had to go to my wife and say, I got good news and bad news. After all this time, almost a decade, I got my first real radio break. That's great news. The bad news is it's a $100,000 pay cut per year. Think about that. I had gotten pretty good at advertising sales, and I really liked it. But now I had 2 kids that were in diapers, or one in diapers and depending on me, and I had to go tell my wife, I think I'm going to do this really dumb thing. Remember what your grandma said about me? She was wrong. But I was like, I got to go for this. And so I did. And since then, I've worked at The Ticket, Live 105.3, turned into 105.3 The Fan, went to ESPN 103.3, went back to 105.3 The Fan, went to 97.1 The Eagle. It became 97.1 The Freak, and now it's back to being 97.1 The Eagle. After all that time, I've never been fired. It's crazy. I've worked at all these stations. I've never been fired. And the reason is because I'm always looking, and Skin and I are always looking, what is the next thing? Like, how do we, like, we're in a very difficult business. We are swimming with giant sharks with razor sharp teeth every day. And we've survived. And it's so crazy the way these things work, because I had to learn how to think on my feet quickly. Well, I learned that being a freestyle rapper. I had to learn how to make songs. I ended up making songs for The Ticket. I ended up making songs for Dude Perfect. Like you'll be watching Dude Perfect on YouTube, and they have this show called Overtime. And it goes, when the video's over, Dude Perfect's in overtime. That's me! And it's so crazy. And so I learned how to think quickly on my feet. I thought it was for a different purpose. It wasn't. When in my business, you just saw the great Randy Parrish talking about Parrish Roofing. That's one of our partners on our show. Randy could not be a better guy. And like for what we do, having relationships with our partners and really understanding their business and helping them like really grow, it became what our whole business was all about. And that's how we've survived. And so, yeah, it wasn't rap. It wasn't making songs. It wasn't freestyling. It wasn't advertising sales, but it's all led to this moment where I am now. And so sometimes I think, the thing is you got to grind no matter what. You got to work your butt off. But man, chase that dream. Just do it responsibly. Like Skin always says, we didn't have to drop out of college to be rappers. I was like, yeah, you're right. We could have just tried to be rappers while we were college students. You're right. That probably would have been smarter. Well, at some point along the way, we realized, okay, we're working for the man. We're in corporate America now, and this is great. We're having fun with our show. Sometimes it's not exactly what we want. Sometimes they're like, we need you to play 2 songs, or we need you to do this or do that. And we had to realize, well, we don't own this sandbox. And so we're fortunate to get paid to do what we love. And so sometimes we have to compartmentalize making it exactly what we want while we're still chasing that dream. And so we were endorsing a whiskey called Balcones Distilling. It's made in Waco. And their sales in Dallas-Fort Worth were skyrocketing compared to the rest of the state. And so we had noticed that, okay, our listeners, they like alcohol, they like fried chicken, like we've got listeners that there's certain things, like we can sell Cane's chicken fingers all day. We could sell beer all day. Things like that really resonate with our listeners. And so we had seen these companies that we endorse scale up, go to exit, and then everybody does really well, except we don't, because we're just, radio hosts. And so we decided we wanted to go into business. We wanted to figure out a way to start a business. And so I was at my son's youth baseball game, and I was talking to one of the dads, and he said, we just bought a building in Salina that'd be great for a brewery or a gun range. He couldn't really figure out what he was going to do. And I was like, well, let's go back to brewery. I was like, my co-host is very passionate about beer. He loves craft beer, and we're passionate about community. And so the idea of having a place to go to bond with our listeners and connect and actually have a brand that we could grow, let's do that. And so we set off on this mission to start a brewery. Our plan was, we'll go back. We've developed great relationships with athletes in Dallas-Fort Worth doing sports talk. We've never burned a source. We have these great relationships. Once we get our business up and running, we'll go ask them if they want to invest. And I've never raised money prior to this, and it is brutal. I don't know, has anybody here raised money before? That is tough. That is such a tough grind. So anyways, we were like, we'll get this brewery started. We wanted to find a name for the brewery that matched really our career. We weren't going to call it the Ben and Skin Brewery. So we did some research on this region, and we found when the Frisco Railway came through here, they didn't weave it over to every small town. They weren't like, okay, we need to make sure this town survives. Let's go stop there, then let's go over here, then let's go by Little Elm. Then, they didn't do that. They just went, bonk, it's going right here. And if your town wasn't on the railroad, your town was going to die. Couldn't survive. And so the most resilient towns put their most important buildings on rollers. And they use steam engines to roll the buildings to the railroad in order to survive. And we feel like that's kind of what we've done by bouncing around to these radio stations. We haven't been fired, but we've always been willing to bet on ourselves and say, the opportunity we want is over there, but it's not going to knock on your door. And so we named it Roller Town because it's the metaphor for all of us that if the life you want is over there, go get it. Move your buildings to the railroad. Don't wait on the railroad to come to you. And so we were like, this is great. We're rocking and rolling here. We're off to the race here. We got a real business. The day of our grand opening was the day that the state got shut down for the pandemic. We did not serve food, so we were not allowed to let a single customer come into our business. Like, we thought we were cooked. We thought, wow, after all that, we're dead in the water here. And so we built a website. You talk about being resilient, figuring out a way to survive. We built a website. We bought advertising on our own radio show. And we said, you can drive to Salina, which is very conveniently located next to the North Pole. We're not even in downtown Salina. We're on the north side of. Have you ever heard of Gunner? You can come out there on your way somewhere else. I know it's convenient. Get a 4-pack to go. You can't stay, and then you got to go back wherever. It made no sense. And you're buying it 3 weeks in advance. So my brother, who's our CEO, he built the website. We'd never built a website before. And we said on our radio show and social media, hey, you can come get a 4-pack or whatever. You got to order it now. Get it in 3 weeks. Come get it. You can't stay. And we sold out in 57 minutes. Thank you. We sold out in 57 minutes. And from that point on, it's just been, every couple weeks you get punched in the mouth and you get up, you dust yourself off, and you try to figure out how to overcome whatever the next thing is. And I asked my brother who runs the business, I'm like, I used to call him and he'd go, oh my gosh, this happened today. And I could hear the stress in his voice. This happened today. And then eventually he didn't sound stressed. I was like, what, is everything good now? And he goes, no, it's hard every day. Like, no. I'll go, well, give me an example. He goes, I'll just give you the type of example. Let's just say a dinosaur showed up and ate the business. That's the type of stuff I'm dealing with like every day. I was like, just let me know what you need. Let me know if you need me. So at that time, we decided, well, let's go ask our friends, our athletes, to invest. And I'm super proud of this because when you interact with pro athletes and you have a good relationship and they're giving you good information, there's a lot of media people who will go right to the radio and say, oh my gosh, Luka said this. You're not going to believe what Dak just said, And of course, they don't have a relationship with those players anymore. But they up their media profile, they get clicks or whatever. We never did that. We had good inside information, and we never burned a source. And so we went and asked Dirk Nowitzki to invest in Rollertown. He did. So Dirk is our freaking partner in this. How crazy is that? So we came out with a beer to honor Dirk. It's called the Big German, because that's one of his nicknames. The tagline is, minimal hops with a smooth finish. For a reason. So along the way, we're rocking and rolling with this brewery and overcoming obstacles and growing. And we saw that cities, municipalities started cutting deals with breweries and distilleries to grow their business. These cities are trying to figure out, how do I get something cool for my city to keep tax dollars in town so people aren't leaving for other things? They did a study on Frisco. People were leaving to go see live music, going to breweries, distilleries, those types of things. And so we ended up cutting a deal with the city of Frisco. And so that's what is opening on Main Street, maybe in October, maybe in November, but we're super proud of that. And it's a culmination of like all these years of hard work and all these weird things that I didn't know at the time were interlinked. It was really just the energy of those things, the spirit of those things. That was the synergy. And so I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with my best story. And this sums up my brother, who's the CEO of Rollertown and who runs our business, and it sums up my family, our family dynamic, and all of that. So in February of 2005, my dad thought he had the flu. Now, my dad was a hilarious guy, by the way. This story is going to start out really sad. It's going to get better, okay? I'm warning you. My dad was the type of guy, he had a joke Rolodex. Somebody mentions round table. He's got 37 jokes about a round table in his mind that he can choose from to tell. Like, it's a lost art telling jokes. He was just a funny guy. And we always did funny things in our family. Like, I remember we were driving down the street, my older brother's in the front seat, me and my younger brother in the back seat, and my older brother, he looks in the back seat and he goes, and he starts turning up the volume on the radio real slowly. He's just turning it up louder and louder and louder until my dad goes, hey, what are you doing? And so that's how our family was wired. We just messed with each other. We told jokes all the time. And so that's kind of how we deal with things, right? So in February of 2005, my dad thought he had the flu. He went to a doc in the box. Turns out it was pancreatic cancer. He died 28 days after diagnosis. 28 days. I lost my mom to cancer. She fought. It was a 5-year battle, and I've heard different things. Is it better to happen quickly, or it's just tough any way you do it? So, again, the story does get better. So, my dad passed away. It takes 28 days, and he's gone. So, each night, my mom would go home. He was at a hospital in Plano. She would go home to Richardson, and she's up there all day, every day. And we were like, let mom go get good sleep in her bed. We'll alternate who sleeps in the hospital room that night. And so it would be my older brother, then me, then my younger brother, and we rotated nights. And on the day that my dad finally passed away, it was about 6 in the morning, and it was me. It was my night. And so my dad left this world with me by myself holding his hand. And I'm texting my brothers and calling my mom, hey, guys, get up here as soon as you can. hurry up, get up here, because the nurses are like, hey, it's happening now. We already knew it was happening. They were just making him comfortable. But that's an odd sensation when someone's passing that means that much to you, and there's no one racing in to save the day, right? Because you're just trying to make him comfortable. So anyways, he passed, and my family got there. And they rush in, and remember, we use humor in my family to deal with things. My brother said to me the greatest thing anyone's ever said to me. Everybody rushed to my dad's bedside, except my brother. He came to me, and I'm bawling. And he comes to me, and he says, never would have happened on my watch. It's the best thing anyone's ever told me. So one time, the Mavericks had this real prickly coach. I put an LY on that because we're in church. And his name was Rick Carlisle. He was kind of hard to deal with. And I was trying to bond with him, so I told him that story because he had lost a friend to pancreatic cancer. And he looked at me and he goes, why would anyone ever say that to anyone else? I think that's the last thing he ever said to me. I haven't said anything else to him. Anyways, I feel blessed to be here. I don't feel worthy of being here. I appreciate you guys humoring me. Really proud of our radio show, the Ben and Skin Show, what it's turned into with Roller Town. And this is my church, and I'm super honored that they asked me to do this. So just want to say thank you guys very much for having me.
Ben, thank you so much again. Man, can we just one more time, can we put our hands together, just thank Ben. I feel like after everything you shared from your rap career to the story with your dad, my mind is still blown that you're the voice of the overtime from Dude Perfect. And as soon as you said that, I was like, I hear it.
He goes,
Tall guy, beard twins, purple hoser.
Dude Perfect's in
I have a 14-year-old. I know exactly how the song goes. It's man, that's crazy. Hey, we want to honor your time. We want to honor your time as well. I actually want to go back to something you said right at the very beginning, because it's kind of an interesting dynamic. You mentioning, hey, I struggle with some anxiety and imposter syndrome in the very beginning, and then we all just got to watch, like, you just deliver a stage in front of hundreds of people here on stage, deliver a speech. How would you encourage maybe those in the crowd who struggle with that, have that anxiety, struggle with that imposter syndrome? What would be an encouragement that you would say to them to say, hey, not let that be a debilitating thing, but a thing to say, hey, you can fail forward, you can continue to go on and pursue your dreams, your calling, whatever those things are. How would you encourage someone in that?
That's a good question. I feel like Sam, because I'm just going to make something up.
Perfect.
Right before I came up here, as the moments got closer, I got more and more and more nervous. My hands started sweating. I was like, oh no, what am I going to talk about? I haven't timed this out. Is this going to, I'm going to crash and burn. And I bumped into a friend of mine that I went to high school with. He's over here, Jason Binion. He was a world-class, hold up your hand, Jason. There he is, a world-class tennis player. And I was talking to Jason, and we were just like, hey, how you doing? He goes, man, I'm doing better than you. I'm not about to speak to 500 people. I was like, it's the type of grief you give friends from back in the day. But I was like, that's the last thing I heard before Randy introduced me and I came up here. I was like, oh my God, how many people are here?
He's just like your brother.
Yeah, just like my brother. I think, I don't know what happens. In a situation like this, I tried not to look at anybody. I just try to look at a bunch of blurs. And luckily, the older I get, the easier that is. I can't really see very well anyways. But I always just fake it till I make it. And, I'm an insecure person. I have anxiety. I have imposter syndrome. Those things are always racing through my mind. But I know that if I let those thoughts win, I'll never accomplish anything. Yeah. And so I just grind through it. That's not a very good answer. But I just try to ignore it. Maybe I just black out like Will Ferrell in Back to School, during the debate. What just happened? I don't know. But I think I fake it till I make it.
Yeah, that works. Ben, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, one more time. Can we put our hands together? Thank Ben Rogers for being here. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, our next, we're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep rolling right on to the next presenter this afternoon, Ryan Ryken. Ryan is a marketing strategist, leadership coach, and a connection enthusiast. Ryan is the founder of Southpaw Media and Marketing and the 1024 Project, and where he champions sustainable, people-centered work. Can we put our hands together and can we welcome Ryan to the stage? Ryan, I'm glad you're here, brother.
So I didn't plan on starting this way, but fun thing, Ben Rogers, when I moved up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I was kind of a nerdy kid, and I didn't know anything about sports. And so I would be going to lunch with a lot of my coworkers and friends, and I was like, I gotta listen to Ben and Skin or one of these. So I was listening to Ben and Skin all the time, driving around. I was like, please just let me be cool. I wanna be able to talk about sports so bad at lunch with everyone. So yeah, so thank you, Ben Rogers, for that. Appreciate it. My name is Ryan Reichen, and I am the founder of Southpaw Media. So we are a CRM marketing strategy agency. So email marketing, SMS, personalized customer journeys. If you get emails and SMS that you don't want, you're welcome. I'm also the founder of the 1024 Project. And the 1024 Project, our vision is to help reframe the way people think about work. Who we are is more important than what we do, and so we coach and consult leaders and businesses on how can you better engage your team, your culture, how can you readjust what the balance in your life looks like when we really think about work. And so when I was talking to Rob initially about speaking, I was like, hey, I got a couple ideas I think I could do, and he said, just share a little bit of your story. That's the first thing, best thing you can do. And so, you know, I'm a husband, a father of 3 boys. I live up in Salina. But really from a business standpoint, my story starts coming out of high school. I was trying to decide which path I should take as I moved into my professional journey. I was a drummer. I was in a bunch of bands, and I thought, path one is I'm gonna be this really great drummer. And my band's gonna make it. We're gonna top the charts. It's gonna be awesome. Or my backup plan was I was gonna go to college and I was going to get a degree in philosophy, psychology, and then try to transition into Columbia Law School, be a lawyer. Very different paths. So ultimately I left high school and naturally I went directly into ministry because that's exactly where I had planned on winding up. So I moved up to the Dallas area and I was a worship and young adults pastor for about 6 years, full-time, and then a young adults pastor and worship pastor for another 10 after that, part-time. But in 2010, I had this opportunity. I was kind of looking to transition in terms of what I was doing, and a guy at church came, and he said, hey, you've got a great nose for marketing, a great nose for communication. There's this new kind of growing industry called marketing automation. I'm starting an agency. Do you want to come kind of work with me? And I thought, man, if I can afford the payment of my PT Cruiser and have enough money to ask a girl out simultaneously, that's gonna be a win. Granted, I was driving a PT Cruiser, so the girl part was questionable. But I said, yeah, like let's talk about it. So we went to a John Mayer concert together. Didn't know it was my job interview, but it was. Played out really well. And so I moved into the marketing automation space, and I've been in that space now for about 15 years. From small startup agencies to mom and pop shops, all the way to working for Oracle and Intuit, and most recently working in higher education. So through all that, through being a husband and a father, through being somebody who's been a pastor, been in ministry, and somebody who has worked as a marketer for a long period of time, there's certain themes that have come up consistently over and over again. And one of those themes for me has been trust, this concept of trust. And all of us here have some familiarity with trust. There's a lot of great business thinkers, speakers, authors that talk about trust. Simon Sinek, he talks about trust, how it's won in drops, but it's lost in buckets. There's Brené Brown, the famous researcher, and she's a great author and speaker. If you're not familiar with her work, she's got something called BRAVING. It's an acronym for the anatomy of what trust is, and she's got this great content built out around that. And then if you lead or work with a team at all, you might be familiar with Patrick Lencioni. He's the founder of the Table Group. He wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And the first dysfunction of a team is the lack of trust. Trust is the foundation. And so there's tons and tons of great content already about trust, which I would encourage you to go look for because it is important for all of us. We lead businesses, teams, in our homes. Trust is a foundational element that we should consistently be growing in. But over the years, one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of the discussion around trust is in how we earn it. We treat it like a currency, and we think about how can I get more of it? How can I collect it? In the past couple of years, as I've led my teams, and I've kind of gone through that, one of the things that I've been wrestling with is trust. If we're gonna treat it like a currency, that means that there has to be some exchange. And trust is not just something we earn, it's something that we give. It's not just something we earn, it's something we give. And so I've been trying to think about what does that mean, giving trust? What does that look like? How can I simplify that? And then earlier this year, my wife and I were celebrating 10 years of marriage, and we're taking our first European vacation. We're in Amsterdam, I have my kids, my parents are there, and I think on day 2, we're going on a canal tour through the waters of Amsterdam. It's fantastic. We have this open air boat, and there's snacks and stroopwafels and drinks, and it's beautiful out. The weather's like not hot, but it's not too cold. And we have this guy, Captain Ono, this dude in this big fluffy white jacket. He's hilarious. He's pointing out all the different sites. And about halfway through this tour, Captain Ono pulls my 8-year-old up, Maximilian. He says, "Max, come up here. Come drive the boat." I'm like, this is cool. What a great core memory for an 8-year-old. You're overseas, you get to drive a boat. Who'd have thought? Not me. And so he lets him drive for a moment. We're all kind of observing, and then he lets him drive for another minute, and then Ono goes and sits down, and we think, oh no. What's gonna happen now? And we start to come across some bridges, and we have to go under these bridges, and it's like, which direction do we go? There's other tours going on, there's other boats, there's houseboats on the side. And he's just like, Max, he's like, you got it. He goes, see that bridge? Just you see the shadows, just keep it between the shadows. Max is guiding it through the shadows. And then we're coming up on a turn, and Ono stands up, and he's like, hey, just kind of go wide. He's radioing to other people in Dutch, probably telling them, hey, watch out, we're coming, there's this kid. And I remember there were about 10 other people on the boat outside of my family. And at first it's fun, right? It's like a kid driving a boat. After a while, you're like, kids driving a boat. And so there was a point where Ono looked at everybody, and he's sitting down, and he says, hey, it's okay. You have to give trust to earn trust. You have to give trust to earn trust. And I remember phone out, writing down, I'm like, that's it. That's this concept that I've been wrestling with. We have this hesitation to give trust. And why? Why, as leaders, do we have this hesitation to give trust? I think if we're honest, we probably have good reasons, right? How many of us have worked with somebody difficult? They're like, I don't trust you, we're the lick, right? We've all had those people. On the front of this, I told you like kind of the progression of my career and how I got where I was, but if I'm honest, I was laid off 3 times in the series of those things. I'm married and I have 3 boys, and I love my family. But I've had relationships that went sideways and kind of wrecked me a little bit. And I've been a pastor for a long time. And I've been involved with various churches and ministries. And if I'm real, some of them had spiritually manipulative leaders. And they weren't great. And I know in this room, a lot of us have had those shared experiences. People who betrayed us, people who we trusted, could even be family members, relatives, parents, but they let us down in some way. And what I realize is our inability to give trust a lot of times actually says more about us than it does about them. When we think about earning trust, it's easy to think about because sometimes it seems formulaic. And maybe easy is not the right word, but it's simplified. It seems formulaic. If I show up on time, if I bring my best, if I'm excellent, if I'm funny, if I show up this way, then I should be able to earn trust with these people. And if I don't, that's a them thing, that's not a me thing. But when it comes to giving trust, it says more about us, usually, than it does about them. Because giving trust is an extension of ourself. And we have to work through all the years of things that have kind of piled on inside of us, and we've built these walls. And some of these walls are justified. They're built on this foundation of fear. We don't want to get hurt again. But that fear and those walls, even though they're good in some senses, they're meant to protect you. But they will never move you forward. They will not move your business forward. They will not move your leadership forward. They will not move your teams forward. They will not move your family forward. They will keep you in a place of protection. You see, that fear will protect you, but hope will propel you. And every time you choose, you make the conscious decision to trust someone and put trust out there, you are sowing a seed of hope for yourself and in that person. And that does not come easy, but it's the right thing to do in order to move in the direction that you need to move in. How many of you have watched The Last Dance on Netflix, right? Michael Jordan documentary. I'm going to plant a flag right here and let you know Michael Jordan is the GOAT, okay? Thank you. So if you're a LeBron person, God bless you, you're wrong. But, okay, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. And if you watch The Last Dance, there's a scene where Michael Jordan's in the huddle. It's in the 97 finals, game 6. He's looking over at Steve Kerr. He says, Steve, be ready. And Steve goes, I'll be there, I'll be ready. Game goes on. Michael Jordan gets the ball. He's double teamed, right? Kicks it out to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr gets the ball, hits the game-winning shot. Okay, it's the 5th championship for Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. I like to think that I'm good at what I do. I ain't the GOAT. Y'all are probably pretty good at what you do. I'd be willing to bet most of y'all aren't the GOAT at it, though. That's just statistics. But if Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and he has to choose to trust his teammate to make the big shot, he has to give trust. How much more do we need to learn to give trust away in the biggest moments? If we trust, when we choose to trust, we are choosing to multiply our impact. That's what we're choosing to do. Michael Jordan gets 6 championships, but he did it because he learned how to trust his teammates, even though he knew he was the best one around. So practically, what are some things that we can do? You say, all right, cool, we need to give trust away. It's a struggle. What do we need to do? 3 ways that I think we can practice giving trust and becoming a trust catalyst. The first is this. Start small. I understand when I'm talking about giving trust away, it's a pretty blanket statement. I'm not saying you should go find somebody off the street and have them watch your kids. All right, let's use wisdom. Let's use wisdom now, reel it in. But you can start small. And one of the ways I like to go about it is start with tasks, grow to outcomes. Start with tasks, grow to outcomes. For my team, what does that look like? I might have somebody and I say, hey, we have a client. We need to design a 7-touch campaign to re-engage their customers. Over 30 days, can you design these different channels, these different things? Implement it, make sure the content is only like this. Here's what our CTAs are. Come back, show me, let's talk through how to do that. That's a task, that's great. But eventually if somebody shows me that they can do that over and over and over again, and I know that they're learning it, what I want to do is I'm going to come back and say, hey, you did a great job. We have a client that's losing 20% of their business for some reason. We want to figure out how to build a campaign that's going to do that. I trust you to figure it out. How can we re-engage those? I'm going to trust you with the outcome of this thing. So start with tasks, grow to outcome. You know what? I'll even use it as an example as a parent, right? I've got an 8-year-old right now trying to get him to do stuff. Hey, feed the dog. That's a task. Hey, make sure the dog doesn't go hungry. That's an outcome. And they get to choose kind of when and how to go about doing something. That's trusting them and giving them freedom to do it. The second thing that we can do to try and give trust out is we can be people who look for hidden potential. Look for the hidden potential. When I was 12, my mom, we moved from Hawaii to Maryland. My mom was trying to figure out how to get me engaged. She signs me up in 7th grade to play percussion. At the same time, we're going to this small military chapel, and she tells the worship leader, yeah, my son knows how to play drums. Totally oversold that. Had not sat behind a drum set in my life at that point. I was at Triangle, about to graduate to the bass drum, and that's where I was at. So I was like, thanks, Mom. But I remember she told the worship leader's name at the time, his name was Jay Thompson. And he was such a gracious guy. He would let me come on Thursday nights and practice with the worship team and just struggle through it. And my parents, my mom and my dad, we're living in military housing, just paper-thin walls. I know the neighbors, man, must have the most gracious neighbors. No, I don't know what kind of secret conversations my parents were having with them, but I just had this little radio drum set upstairs, and I would come home from school, and I would just go to town. And I know that for Jay and for my parents, that had to be such a miserable season to go through for a little while, watching me go through it. But learning to play drums, over time, I got pretty good at it. And not only that, it was a thing that taught me how to be part of a team. It helped me keep linked into my faith. It helped me gain some of the best friends I've had in the world. It was a fantastic experience, and when I look back on it, what I realize is that Jay Thompson, my mom, my dad, they could hear music where other people could only hear noise. So for the people around you, where can you hear music where other people only hear noise? And the third thing you can do, if you want to start to lean into trust, and Dr. Chan talked about this earlier, Ben Rogers talked about it, the concept of failure. Create space for failure. And this is kind of two parts. One is this: openly talk about your failures. Vulnerability breeds vulnerability. I tell my teams all the time about the things that I've gotten wrong. I deleted 30,000 contacts out of somebody's database once. Whew, yeah, see, y'all know. That sucks, right? It was not my finest day. The first thing I did when I started a marketing agency, I was trying to help build a website. I shrunk all the graphics by 80%. Why? I don't know. Felt like a good idea at the time. Wasn't. But there we are, all right? We all fail at things. Openly talk about yours. Share yours. And the second part of that is create space for failure. You know what the hardest part about trusting is? They're going to get it wrong. It's not always going to go right. You're going to trust people, and they're going to let you down. They will fail at things. That's okay. We're human. We all fail at things. But we need to create that space so that they can fail in a safe environment. When we can be open about our failures and we can create space for that failure, we create the psychological safety that our teams need to be their most excellent selves. So, 3 things. Start small, look for hidden potential, create space for failure. And I'll close with this. I think a lot about Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The more I learn about him, the older I get, the more his legend grows for me, because I think he's just such an excellent example of just a person and somebody with impact. And he used to do this thing where he would have people close their eyes for a minute and think about everybody who loved them into being. So I'm gonna borrow from that for a second. I'm gonna say, let's close our eyes for 15 seconds. And I want you to think about who gave you trust when you didn't deserve it? Who gave you that chance? Who extended trust to you before you necessarily maybe earned it? And then I want you to think about who in your life right now, whether they work for you or somebody you know or a friend or your kids, but who have you not been trusting where maybe you need to say, I'm gonna extend a little more trust and decide, make the conscious decision to trust. Last thing, if you look up here on the screen, I have a QR code. I designed this book for all of us. This is something called Loaded Questions. Dr. Chan talked about the importance of questions. These are 21 questions that have helped reframe my life personally. I use some of these with my team to help them think. So there's a short form, just fill it out. But this is 21 questions along with stories that you can kind of take and chew on and think about where you're at in life, what's fulfilling for you. And our goal, once again, the 1024 Project, we're just trying to figure out how we can help you be who you are, who God intended you to be, and kind of rebalance the way you work. So thank y'all so much. Thank you for trusting me with your time.
Oh, hey, yeah, we'll have a seat right here.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to just follow up too and just let everybody know all the resources that we're getting today, notes, things like this, the loaded questions, all that. We're going to send an email out to everybody that's here later in the week, and we'll make sure that you guys have all that. So if you missed a QR code or if something happened today, you missed something from earlier, we're going to be sending all those resources out to everyone in attendance as well. But can we put our hands together one more time? Just thank Ryan for being here. Thanks, Ryan. A couple questions. And there's a QR code on screen too, so if you want to send a question too, we have a team that's kind of filtering through those and sending them in. But just to get us started, how do you give trust when you've been burned by giving trust in the past? How do you kind of go back to the well on that and say, I'm gonna do this again?
It's a decision. Ultimately, and I think this is part of what I was wrestling with personally for a long time, is I have the spiritual gift of skepticism. And so that gift at times, I like to think has served me well. But at other times, what I've realized is there are people who've shown up time and time and time and time again, and it's a me issue where I'm kind of holding back. Ultimately, trust is a choice at any level, right? Sometimes it feels easier to make that choice because it seems like the return's gonna be, is gonna come back well, but sometimes it's not. And so you have to choose, or else you will always be trapped in the hurt of that last experience. And if you wanna be free of the hurt of that last experience of whatever, the only way to do that is to gain a new experience. And you have to choose to trust and gain that experience. And once you have enough positive ones, you realize they're all not gonna be positive, but it's at least enough that I can come back and get some, right? There's gonna be a return.
Can I just to follow up with that? How do you, or what would your recommendation be, your best practice for addressing gaps in trust when that's been breached, or hey, someone's failed, or whatever, however you would say that. But how do you kind of go to that person or go to that relationship and say, hey, here, we've got a trust gap here. How do we fill this back up?
Yeah, I think honest conversation is huge. Sometimes you just call a spade and say, I'm having a hard time trusting. And so you have to acknowledge it with someone. In a work environment, I know for me I kind of operate in two levels with my teams. And one of those is this: I trusted you with something and it's skills-based. So I asked you to do something, you didn't do it, or the quality of your work did not meet the standards I'm expecting, and so I don't know if I can necessarily trust you to do these things. That's skills-based. My responsibility as a leader in a lot of those, I feel, is to try and figure out how can I address those skill gaps and empower this person wherever they're at so that they're the best version of themselves. But the second tier of that is if it's a character thing, right? If it's a character thing, we'll address it once. Hey, You lied about something, I caught you in it. Hey, I had somebody that was working for me last year, was like, hey, I'm sick, I did this. And then this individual was like showing up at midnight book signings, right? And I was like, you're not really sick, right? Like that's a character thing. If it's a character thing, I'll give you an opportunity to do it once, and we're gonna address it and talk about it. But then character things are much harder to correct. And at that point, not to be Dr. Sam Chan and be like, hey, it's time to get out, So that's kind of how I address those things.
What's the correlation between someone earning trust and leaders clearly communicating expectations?
What's the correlation? I think the correlation, if you're a leader and you're choosing to give trust, you have to clearly set expectations. I think clearly setting expectations is a necessity in and of itself. If you're giving trust but you don't clearly set expectations and they don't do what you're expecting, that's a failure on your part, not a failure on their part. And so there is a correlation where you need to correctly set those expectations, because then somebody can meet and or exceed, right? We don't give people the opportunity to rise to the occasion if we don't really extend that out. And so, but you have to clearly communicate the expectations there. There is a correlation.
That's great. Hey, can we, one more time, can we just put our hands together and just thank Ryan for being here? Thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, man.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna keep it moving. Next up, we have Nick James, who is the founder and CEO of White Glove AI, the world's first, I want to make sure I say this right, managed AI solutions provider, helping organizations adopt AI securely and ethically. 18 years of experience in cybersecurity. Everybody, put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Nick James.
Thank you. Good Leader Conference 2025. I'm so excited to be here. Now, across God's glorious kingdom, us humans shouldn't be the predator, we should be the prey. For all intents and purposes, we're slower than a cheetah. We're not as strong as a gorilla, with the exception of Chad, because we've heard Chad, sorry, Chad. We can't fly, we can't breathe underwater, we can't see in the dark. So we should be the prey, not the predator. Now, the one thing, the one attribute that we have and possess that God gave us as humans that sets us apart and keeps us dominant as a dominant species in this world is our intelligence. Our intelligence allows us to think, reason, make tools. And every revolution that both of us, you and I, have experienced in the history of mankind have only amplified our ability to use our hands, right? Whether it was the Industrial Revolution, the farming revolution or agricultural, or even computers up until recently. So what's so different about now? Why is this so different? It's different because for the first time in history, we have created something that is challenging the very thing that separates us from animals, our intelligence, right? And that is key. And that is why I'm here today to talk to you and encourage you and help you understand and educate you on why this is so important. If you don't mind bringing up the slides, please. Thank you, sir. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so who am I? My name is Nick James. I'm the CEO and founder of White Glove AI. I've done a lot of great things. The greatest thing I ever did was join the United States Marine Corps. Do we have any Marines out in the crowd? All right, I got one. Any veterans? Veterans, all right. Thank you for your service. I've done a lot of things, but the most important thing I did in my career was walk into that very same bush that Homer Simpson's walking into. Because I walked in a cybersecurity expert and I came out an AI expert. So just know that your ears are in safe hands. I want to thank God, number one, for my ability to be up here. my beautiful family, my wife's out there in the crowd, and most importantly, Hope Fellowship. Can we give a round of applause to the Hope Fellowship team for putting this on? Amazing. So get ready. This is not going to be like the other speakers that you heard up here. It's going to be a little deep. It's going to be a little heavy. Get your notebooks out. I'm not going to cover everything on the slides because I only have 20 minutes to speak, and that's A-okay, okay? So don't worry. You're going to get the deck right after this. Are we ready? All right, let's go. All right, here's the deal. Everybody's confused. Everything has AI now, okay? There's over 100,000 AI-powered products out there, and everybody's feeling overwhelmed. Raise your hand if you're just like, I am so confused, I don't know what to use. Raise them nice and high so I can see it, please. Thank you so much. Thank you for your honesty. I love this little meme here. As you can tell, I love memes. I practically operate on memes. But it's like that sell me this pen challenge, right? Well, this pen is now AI powered. And there are so many options out there. You got people saying LLMs and small language models and large language models, and then you have China and then DeepSeek, and then you're just feeling overwhelmed and you don't know what to use. And frankly, all of those apps that say AI powered are all using probably the same model. It's the same model that you and I have access to. It's called ChatGPT. Even Copilot uses a model from ChatGPT. So why is this so important right now? Well, number one, 55% of your employees are using it and they don't care what you think, say, or written in a policy. Okay? They're willing to risk it. They experience the magic of this thing in their personal lives. And they said, well, can it help me at work? Well, sure it can. But your boss says you can't use it. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. 82% of your peers, they said that this is essential to stay competitive. And then 91% of small to medium-sized businesses are reporting a boost in productivity and revenue. Now, history repeats itself. In World War II, it was the backbone of America, the small businesses, that pivoted and helped us win as a country. So if I were to be patriotic, which I'm supposed to because I was in the Marines, okay, I would say that your adoption of AI, your secure and responsible adoption of AI, is essential for America to remain the dominant player. I love what Sam said earlier. He said, things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And that is so key when it comes to adopting artificial intelligence. If you don't start right, things will start wrong from the very beginning. So there are 4 key areas. It's super light, okay? Remember, there is a more condensed version of this presentation that you'll get to towards the end. First, start with your strategy. Don't think you need to change everything in your business. If you're plumbing, keep plumbing. Just use AI to do it. Use AI to generate leads. Use AI to help customers, okay? Work backwards from your business objectives. Always start where the cost of a mistake is low. And most importantly, ensure that your data is accurate. The condition of your data is critical. Garbage in, garbage out is such an important point. Governance. Make sure you know what the thing is doing and that you can control it. Additionally, there are laws out there, like Texas, most people don't know, released a law called the Texas Responsible AI Governance Act. It was signed into law by Governor Abbott on June 22nd of 2025. It will be effective January 1 of 2026. There are no small business exclusions or exclusions therefore. So that means it applies to any of you if you're using AI in your business. Make sure you are keeping abreast of that and understanding your risks. Integration. It's really important that these things don't work against you, that they're working with you. It's critical that when you integrate AI into your systems, that they're seamless, that they can talk to each other, they understand the languages that your current systems speak. You need to be able to define clear roles between the human and the machine. At the end of the day, what we're coming to is an economy where humans and machines collaborate together to provide commerce. And finally, growth and change management. I think this is the most important one. Your humans, they're still there. You're not going to get rid of them. But they need to know how to collaborate with the machines that you're bringing into your business. So it's critical that you provide training, okay? And this becomes more deeply a cultural shift. It's a rewiring of the brain. For the longest time, we have used a keyboard and a mouse to interact with the machine. And the only feedback we got was what's displayed on the monitor. Things are changing. Now we're interacting with machines just with our voice, because guess what? They speak just like we do. They understand English and probably about 160 other languages, just like we do. Here's the kicker. Each and every one of you, how many of you have ChatGPT on your phone? Okay, that's awesome. I love it. Much higher numbers than I was anticipating. We all have a PhD in our pocket. That means the playing ground is level. You have access to the very same tools that I do. But in some cases, I just know how to use it better than you do. This is not a pissing contest, it's just the reality. So let's get a little bit deeper, okay? You can, obviously, it's an eye chart up here, I know. But just remember, you're gonna get it after. Number one, the setup is so critical on ChatGPT. Remember, you have it on your phones, but you're probably only using 10% of it. Custom instructions, there's customization tools in there. You can tell who you are, how you want to be referred to. What do you do? I am Tim. I own a plumbing company. How would you like it to respond to you? This is critical in business. You don't want to have to tell it every time you ask it something who you are and what you do. You can permanently embed that in its memory, called custom instructions. Projects. How many of you know what projects are in ChatGPT? Okay, few, that's good. Okay? Projects help you focus its work. When you tell your accounting person to go pull the P&L, that's a task. When you tell them that you're going from this or this accounting software to this accounting software, that's a project. Think along the same lines. AI needs you to help it focus, and you do that through projects. And the model selections. What's great now is that GPT-5 came out with auto selection. So it'll select it for you based on what you're asking. But if you know what you need a model that can think fast and answer questions fast, or think really deeply and answer slower, or you need a pro model that leverages much more deep thinking, those options are available to you and me. And there's even more options in there that perhaps you didn't know existed, like agent mode. Did you know that ChatGPT has the ability to use a computer? It will bring the computer up right inside of the ChatGPT interface. And it will use it. It will use a browser when it needs to log into a system for you because you asked it to go book you a plane to Barbados. It'll ask you for credentials, you put it in, it books the plane for you. Okay? There's deep research, there's web search, there's Canvas, there's creating images. There's so much. But sometimes we get frustrated. We're like, why are you not giving me what I'm asking for? It's because AI is just a mirror of you. It's only as good as what you ask it, and it's only as good as the context that you give it. We created a mnemonic called PROMPT, so it should be easy to remember. It stands for persona. So who do you want it to be? You want it to be an accounting person? Do you want it to be someone in marketing, right? A request, what do you want it to do? Objective, what's the end goal and result? And as you're following along, when you download the deck, you'll notice that I used a prompt to make this presentation, and it's displayed right there. It's pretty simple. And I've broken it down into the prompt framework. Materials. What do you want it to look like? Give it examples. If there's data that needs to be inserted into whatever the end state goal is, you need to give it attachments, feed it information so it can do its job effectively. No different than a human. Process. Do you need it to reason through things? Do you need it to slow down and think through these things, or you need quick answers? And then target output. Do you need a Word document? You need a PDF? You just need research done right inside the user interface? And that's prompt. It's really important that you understand that the outputs you receive are only as good as the inputs you give. So the better you are at communicating with AI, the better of an output and a job it will do for you. How many of you have heard agents now, like for the past 3 or 4 months? They're like, agent this, agent that, everything is an agent. But what is an agent? Well, I'm here to tell you in a very simple terms, they're much like humans. They can analyze data, they can create plans, they can manage a team of other agents, they can direct work amongst that team, they can make decisions, and most importantly, take actions, just like humans. So I've included here an autonomy spectrum. When I say autonomous or autonomy, it means like how separated are you from its work? So there's really like 4 stages here. The first one just helps you work faster. That's just ChatGPT. Then there's others that co-work on your behalf. So you've heard of maybe, how many of you heard of Zapier? Okay, so those are workflow engines, right? The next one does work for you. Okay, these are, now you're starting to get into that agentic realm. And then the last one works completely independently of you. Okay? Now you'll notice at the top, the risk, complexity, cost, and room for error increase as you go along. And the need to have a human monitoring the work that it's doing increases as you go from left to right. So some of the ways that agents communicate. A lot of us have seen text agents, that's pretty common. How many of you have received a phone call and you're like, is this a human? Is anybody? Okay, or just a few, not enough. There are voice agents. And then finally, avatars, which leads us into today's demonstration. What I'm going to be showing to you today is something that the city of Frisco will be implementing for one of their trails as a trail guide, okay? So if everything works well, everybody knows what happens with live demonstrations. I ask for your mercy and grace. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and join the call here. It can see me, it's a full FaceTime experience, okay? And this thing is trained on the Bluestem Trail here at Grant Park.
Hello, it's nice to see you at Grant Park. I am your AI virtual guide. How may I help you?
Hey there, I'm here with, I got 3 kids, and I'm not sure what to do here.
You're here with your 3 kids. That's great. Grand Park is a fantastic place for families. We have lots of activities and amenities that are perfect for kids. Have you checked out the Big Bluestem Trail? It's a 2-mile natural trail that's great for hiking and exploring. We also have plans for some really cool features like code playgrounds, lakes, and event spaces that will be lots of fun for kids. What are your kids interested in? Are they into nature, hiking, or something else?
Well, I mean, along with my kids, I've also brought a lot of friends with me. Can you see them?
It looks like you're in a big group, but I'm having a bit of trouble seeing everyone. Can you tell me a bit more about what you're looking for? Are you looking for some activities to do together, or maybe some recommendations for exploring the park? I'd be happy to help you come up with some ideas that would be fun for the whole group.
Judging from the number of people in this room, do you think that your park can accommodate them?
That's a great question. Based on what I can see, it looks like you have a pretty large group with you. Grand Park is a big place, but I think we can definitely accommodate you. We have plenty of open spaces and trails that can handle a crowd. The Big Bluestem Trail is 2 miles long, so you've got plenty of room to spread out and explore. Plus, we're still in the process of developing the park, so there's plenty of space to grow and accommodate big groups like yours. Would you like me to suggest some specific areas of the park that might be a good fit for your group?
No, you've been terrific, thank you. So, that is an example of a full interactive agent that can see. I turned the camera around so it could purposely see you and describe the setting that I was in. Now imagine if you're on the trail and you come up to a flora or perhaps an animal that you don't know what it is. It's a nice little touch. You turn your camera around just like you would with your phone when you're FaceTiming somebody, and you show it to her, and you ask her, hey, what's this vegetation, or what's this animal? And she'll ask it. There are so many applications for things like this. How many of you knew that something like this already exists? Awesome, I love it, I love it. All right, let's get back to the presentation. Okay, and just to close up and wrap up, I got a few minutes here. Just a little bit about us and some resources. We do have our own AI adoption and management framework that is completely free. How many love free things? Yes, I love free things. I'm Indian. That's not a racist comment, that's just the truth. Okay. And I'm a Marine. That's the worst combination. We have an AI adoption management framework completely free at aiamf.ai. It helps guide you through your adoption journey. It can apply to just a small or a big business. Some things just won't apply if it's a smaller business. Some of the cool things that we've done, we have worked with Dallas Baptist University. We've provided AI translation services for over 64 different languages for 80 peoples from across the world. They came to the 5-day conference, and some of them reported that it completely changed their lives and their experience. They've been coming for 5 years now. We have them on record stating that it completely changed the way that they were able to consume the content, okay? And we received a 94% satisfaction rating from the technology we helped implement with Dallas Baptist University. To wrap things up, AI is not going to replace your team. Don't be afraid. It's not going to replace you. Just keep up with it, okay? It's going to amplify your work. It's going to help scale you. Start with one small thing and start where the cost of a mistake is low. If there's nothing else you took away from me, please take that one. Let AI serve your mission, not overshadow it. And finally, unlike what was said earlier about trust, don't trust it until it earns your trust, okay? And if you'd like to download and register for our ChatGPT Masterclass and download the deck, just scan that QR code, put your information in, and you'll get an email. Thank you, Good Leader Conference 2025.
Hey, Nick, we've got some time for some Q&A.
Great.
I don't know what it means after that demonstration. Pastor John texted and said, we're going to be seeing her a lot more when he goes on motorcycle rides on the weekends. I know how to take that, but I'm kidding. That's a joke. That was a joke. Hey, come sit down.
All right, all right.
And we've got some questions. And again, they're going to put a QR code on the screen. If you have some questions that you want to ask Nick, we have a couple of minutes for that. I just felt like, just in full transparency, Ryan talked about being transparent and vulnerable. I thought the best way to get this started was I actually went to ChatGPT and said, what question should I ask an AI CEO speaking at a leadership conference? And here's what it said. Question number 1. Hope you're ready. In a world where AI evolves faster than most leadership cycles, how do you keep people inspired and aligned without burning them out?
I think Sam said it earlier. It's really about focusing on the mission and the outcomes, okay? It's kind of like, you know, perhaps you have a favorite sausage or a hot dog. It gets made somehow, and probably you don't want to know how it's made, okay? You just want to enjoy the taste. Now, the outcome or the mission is to produce the hot dog for you to eat. Now, how the hot dog is made is different, okay? So how the work is achieved and how much more efficient you can become, right? That's separate. If you can empower people, and I've always held this belief since a very early age. I'm going to use big words, and yes, I did know big words when I was young. I'm Indian, don't forget. Is that I believe that technology is a gift that's provided to us from God to help relieve us of the mundane and repetitive tasks that we've created for ourselves so that we can truly enjoy life. And that's how you keep people inspired.
Love it. What industries or leadership roles do you believe will be the most transformed in the next 5 years due to AI?
Yeah, I think a lot of the lower level. So if you're talking about, let's say, help desk, okay, you need your password reset, right? Right now, perhaps you may call in and you get a person. those are the kinds of jobs, the sort of the tier 1 jobs across the board, you'll start to see AI do some replacing. Now, that AI still needs to be managed, so there are great opportunities for those people who are conducting that work right now to be managing the agents to do the work.
I guess these are the ones that have started to come in. Do you believe AI will lead to a decline in individual creativity in the workplace? Why not?
That's a great question. We don't have enough data. We don't have enough time that it's been around to make that sort of, draw that conclusion. So all I can do is make an assertion based on what I'm seeing. I think that AI will allow us to expand exponentially our ability to create. Not that it will replace our creative nature. It still needs to be directed. It's not sentient. It doesn't have its own objectives and goals unless you provide it to it, right? Like I spent the whole conversation talking about. So it's really important to know that you are now able to scale your ability to do the work. How many of you use Photoshop in here or Illustrator? Okay. There's a model out there completely eliminates the need for Photoshop now. Okay, I can change I can have one photo, I can put 1 million clothes on that person. Okay, try on, tailor sort of work, or I can create a graphics poster with accurate depiction of text in any language, right? So I'm not using individual tools inside of Photoshop to produce this graphic. I'm now just telling a model what I want it to do, and I'm able to scale my creativity.
That's good.
Oh, it's a Chinese model. It's called Qwen Image. I believe Alibaba is, I know Alibaba is the maker. Like Alibaba is like the Amazon of China. I don't know if they have like a graphical user interface that's friendly to humans. I know the model's been released, and it's free, like all open source models out there now. So yeah, it's called Qwen. QWEN.
Nice. How would you help someone who has no experience with AI begin to incorporate it into their business?
I would say document your processes. I know that sounds like poison to some, but you need to be meticulous about creating documentation around the work that you humans do, step by step. Just start there. Simple. Document your processes and document the data that is used to go into your process and the data that's produced as an outcome of the process. Just start there. There's no AI there. I mean, maybe you can use AI to analyze your processes and define those documentations, but just start there. And then the next step is to prioritize your processes in importance, okay? And then you understand the cost of a mistake, which is another key metric. Which processes have the lowest cost of a mistake? Start there. Highest priority, lowest cost of mistake. That's the first one you should try.
Kind of along those same lines, what would you say to someone, and this was a question that came in, what would you say to someone who they're afraid of even looking into AI for just because they don't understand it, or there's just cyber threats, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. It's prevalent. I would ask you what you did when the computer first came out. I don't know who asked that question. But these are, like I said earlier about it challenging our intellect, it's really critical that it's nearly essential that you find a way, first of all, to ground yourself in the fact that it is not a living thing. Like I said earlier, it's just a mirror, okay? You ask it to do something, and it does it for you. So I think that's a more psychological question, and I may not be the right person to answer, but let your curiosity drive you to explore.
What's the number one function of AI that you think could help any business model?
Number one, going through a lot of data is number one. We are paralyzed by data. We have too much data. We got so interested in collecting data, we came up with the internet. And then the internet produced even more data. And then you have metadata, which is data about data. So we have so much data, we don't even know what to do with it. Like, why are we even collecting it? And then my friend Randy over there, he's in cybersecurity. Now he has to protect it. Oh, Lord, there's another cost. Okay, so the first thing it can do just help you go through all that stuff and see what you need and what you don't, and then really hone in on the actions and decisions you take and make based upon that data.
Where should you draw the line between what AI can do for efficiency and what it shouldn't do because of human values?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a big topic, human labor displacement. You know, Singapore actually, the government in Singapore actually has a program for people, I believe over 40 years old, and they provide you free training. This comes down to becoming a GDP issue. It's a gross domestic product. The productivity of a country helps define its GDP. Okay, even though GDP is expressed in monetary values, essentially the productivity of the economy helps define the NGDP. So this needs to become a government matter for governments to start providing free training and programs to help you retool and upskill. Until that happens, if that happens here in the United States, I suggest you allow your curiosity to drive you. This is the most fun I've had in my entire career. I am a child in a playground. I play with toys every single day, and it is so much fun. So get out there and have fun.
Love it. Last question, it says, will AI replace Pastor John McKenzie? I'll answer that. Truth is, Pastor John's been teaching via hologram for years now, so we're already ahead of the curve. No.
Something fell off when I gave him a hug. I was like, you're kind of like squishy.
Yeah, something's up. Hey, one more time, can we put our hands together? Thank Nick so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
Absolutely,
much for having
absolutely.
me. Yeah.
And can we put our hands together one more time for Rob Simmons?
Awesome. Good job. Good job. That was so good. I hope we have that sound bite. I hope somebody was recording. Pastor John felt squishy. He'll love that. Please send it to me. Just text me. That'd be great. Guys, thank you so much for being so attentive. We had such a great variety of content today. I hope you got a lot out of it. I'm about to dismiss us to our next time of networking. This is that time for you guys to really get to know each other better, to meet somebody new. Again, my introverts, you hadn't done it yet, you gotta do it. And then also to visit all of our sponsors. Again, don't forget that we have a photo booth out there. If you brought a team, get a picture, tag us in it. That'd be so cool. And also look for Sydney, our social media director. She'll be out there as well. All of that at our photo booth. But before I send you guys out, I do want to give away, if you like another giveaway, I got a couple more names. All right, Stephen Patterson. There you go. There you go. Come on up. Come on up. Come on up. And Jessica Whitney. Come on up. Okay, so what I'm giving them is the Sam Chan Leadership Institute book, box set, and, oh God, it's heavy, careful, and a hat. So I gave away a hat, then I gave away books, now I'm giving away books and a hat. So that was the way I could go up a notch. There you go. Now, here's the deal with the Leadership Institute, the Sam Chan Leadership Institute. It is an incredible program, and because of Sam coming here today to be a part of it, he is making it to where it's not just the normal cost, it's not the normal fee, it's not the normal setup. Instead, it's going to be a give what you want. And so we have a graphic for it. Will you pull it up and put your phones out, take a picture of this? It's a setyourowntuition.com. This is a way to go through even more of the content, to build your leadership ability, and to continue to get more from Sam Chan. Obviously, he's kind of Santa Claus today. He just gave us so much today. It was awesome. Guys, thank you to all of our speakers. Give our speakers one more big round of applause. Thank you also to all of our sponsors. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Again, all of you, make sure you go by the sponsor booths and show your support to them as well. And then lastly, we have an email that we're going to send out that will have a lot of this information and content to you. It'll have links to all the things, including we have a group that meets here every month for leadership and business. discussions, and so there'll be a link to that as well. So if you feel like you missed something, we're going to email you. We're going to give you all of the information, all the links to everything that you want and saw today in that email. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, reach out to us if you don't see it or get it by the end of next week. Guys, thank you again for being here. Thank you so much. Can you do me a favor? There's a law of leadership that good leaders are also good servants. Will you just clean up your trash on your way out? That'd be awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.